Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew Studio. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with the promo code MyWorld. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order at BlueChew.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to... It's not working, but it's supposed to say My World. What's going on, Jeff? How are you, man? There it is.
There we go. Wah, wah, wah. You got to put that one in there. Connie, how we doing, my man? I know that you and Silva, there it is. That's kind of perfect because I don't care how you feel, Conrad. I was at the Cats game yesterday, and the very first guy who came through, I was Cats captain, signed autographs. First guy said, I want you to deliver a message to old Connie. I said, all right, bring it. He said, I like when you start the show and talk about what's coming up and this and that. And then he did. And then he said, and there's not enough Cats conversation. I said, well, it is a wrestling podcast. He's like, no, it's My World with Jeff. Anyway, we had a good back and forth. So shout out to our listener that attended. But I will brag on the Cats, Conrad, because we got the big W as we're recording this. It's Monday. And just last night, it looks like a basketball score, right, Conrad? 92-76. We beat the Mission Arsenal, which means this Saturday, 3 p.m., F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville, Tennessee, just right outside of Nashville. The Den, as we call it, we are going to be hosting the AF1 Championship. And, Conrad, this is an opportunity for the very first professional sports championship to come. And I know the Sounds, they've won, I think, the Pacific Coast, and I may get chewed up on that. But anyway, it's pretty cool that we're going for the championship. It was a rocking house. I think, as they say in the business, I think it was 92% utilization. It was almost a full house. Some promoters back in the old day, or even the new day, would call it a sellout. I will not call it a sellout, but we were damn close. I'm hoping for a sellout. Catsfootball.com. You can get your tickets. Conrad, that place was rocking. It was, man, so much fun. Hard hitting. Coach Arbet has put together a hell of a staff and a team. And we got the dub. We got to get one more this Saturday. So you can watch it. It'll be on Vice. Yeah, how about that? Vice. I'm good friends with folks at Vice. Got a little dark side, and now we got a little AF1 championship. So a lot of fun. Conrad, I know this is a wrestling podcast, but for that, I hope you bend the rules and let me speak a little bit on Cats today. You get all ornery about it, and your little machine over there didn't work. Anyway, it's fun, Conrad. All kidding aside, it's a blast yesterday.
Boy, you're a sensitive Sally. I mean, here I was going to give you some credit. Now, I mean, let's just be honest. Not only did they win, but they won while you were the captain. And as part of the process, the mayor of Clarksville named it Cats Day. I don't know how you keep doing this, but it was Cats Day in Clarksville. There you see the mayor right there. You standing alongside your old pal, Jeff Fisher, the former head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And I see at your left elbow a nothing happening rascal. What a cool moment this was for Cats and the Jarrett family and the Fisher family. And man, we're pulling for you in this next game. Looking forward to what's next for the Cats.
And, you know, Conrad, what was a very special moment that we got, Cats captain and all that, but Tim Shaw, former player, a Tennessee Titan, former player of Coach Fisher. He has battled ALS. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think he's 12 years, Conrad. So he was basically an honorary Cats captain, and he came onto the field for the coin toss. And, man, Conrad, if you didn't get goosebumps just being a part of that, it was really an honor. And there was quite a bit of Rebel Heart conversation, which was so cool. As I was walking off the field, there was no music playing, and it was very respectful. And there was a fan up in the audience that said Rebel, screamed out a Rebel Heart. And then, there was some CJ Chris Johnson, and then of course Tim being there. And it was, the ALS awareness, it's what it's about. I've shared here on the pod. My high school teammate Mike Marinick been with me as my financial advisor for gosh, 30, however many years. He is battling it right now. So it affects, man, when you start reading the statistics. But Conrad, to see, I just connected it to see one of Fisher's former players. And yes, we're at a football game and arena, but to see their relationship, because he was backstage with us and kind of we do, they call it in the production meetings, do the Morgan Wallen walkout. Me and Fisher do that and lead the team out on the field every week or through the tunnel, so to speak. Tim got to do that as well. And to see Coach Fisher and Tim, just that relationship and Tim in his wheelchair, and he can maneuver that thing all around and everything. And Coach just saying it was special, man. It was an incredibly emotional day, but really special. And like I said, it's a blessing we got the W as well.
Really excited to hear that story. Thank you for sharing it. I hope that we actually know some people. We don't need to name their names here. I don't know they want me to acknowledge that they were there, but a friend of ours was there,
Okay.
and I said, "Hey, go say hey to Double J." And he said, I don't know if I'll see him. It's going to be sold out. And I know you said it was almost sold out, not quite, but you've got a lot of attention for the Nashville Cats, and it's because you're doing really great community stuff like that, great feel good stuff, fun family stuff. Be sure to check out Nashville Cats. And I do want to hear what you thought of WrestleCon. Of course, you were there over the weekend. Of course, Nashville Cats were playing on Sunday, but let's talk a little bit about WrestleCon. It was in Minneapolis over the weekend. I think you were near our buddy Road Dogg. I'm sure you and the Queen had a blast. Chat me up about WrestleCon.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start because I got to see my buddy Dan Spivey. He was there, and I've spent way back in my early sobriety. He was in Tampa, and I wrote the foreword to his book, Conrad. And his wife, Miss Beautiful, it's Ann Spivey, but Ann Russo, I used to work with her. She was talent relations. So I got to catch up with him, and that was special. And we're going to have him on the pod if you don't mind, Conrad, in the weeks to come, which I think is cool. But I haven't seen Rick Martel in years. I got to catch up with him, and there's different names. Lynn Denton, the grappler, Conrad. Wild Bill Irwin and Baron Von Raschke were right over, and I'm giving you names and different things like that. And there was new folks there. Will Ospreay had a great showing. Got to see Sting and Booker and Steiner and Nash. Oh man, me and Kevin immediately caught up, and we went back to our old jokes and seeing folks like that. I could just go obviously Road Dogg and Billy and a bunch of nonsense, and we took Cody with us, and Cody wanted to spend more time at Road Dogg's table, but we had fun all in all. But man, oh man, and I know we're moving on through this, but I will say this, that we did a panel discussion Friday night late, intimate setting, which was cool, and kind of the questions that came out about Dark Side and Conrad. I mean, it goes without saying, me and Karen are essentially at the same table. I'm on one end, she's on the other, but look, you have hit on this so many times. Like, Jeff, I hated you. You whatever, the human fast forward, all your fun names, Venetian blinds, and all this. And then through the years we've talked about how he's just doing his job. One thing that struck me, because this has been our first kind of, I guess you could say, real public appearance.
Post Dark Side, yeah.
My bad. Post Dark Side. Conrad, I know folks don't really know Jeff, and I've been on TV for 40 years. People really don't know Karen.
Right.
At all, because I get to see, they're not talking directly to me. They're talking to her. So I don't say eavesdropping, but I'm watching facial expressions, and whether it's a husband or a wife, and then the other spouse is watching and nodding, and then waiting for their spouse to shut up so they can have a comment. It was really cool. And Karen, that they'll say it respectfully, and it was emotional, and the underlying truth of it all is, Karen, we're really proud of you, that how you kept your mouth shut, and we know why. And now you got the opportunity to tell your truth, and it resonated. So Karen has connected with a lot of folks, which, it just told me they don't know her.
Yeah.
You know her, Conrad. But anyway, WrestleCon, shout out Michael Bakikio. We did some great business together. It was good. It was a good weekend, really good.
It's going to be a great week this week for AEW. Tomorrow night, as you're listening to this, is AEW Grand Slam Mexico. It's in Arena Mexico in Mexico City. I'm pretty fired up about this. We even saw Adam Copeland take to social media, and he did like almost like a bucket list type handwriting. We saw Cody Rhodes when he first left WWE, like, 10 years ago. He made like a checklist of all the things he wanted to do sort of outside of the tent of WWE. Well, Adam Copeland recently revealed that he's got a list of his own, and Arena Mexico was at the top of that list. He's going to scratch that itch tomorrow night. And the rumor and innuendo is it's going to be a capacity crowd, seemingly always is in Arena Mexico. But there's probably a handful of listeners who've heard about Arena Mexico, but maybe they've never seen a show there. Maybe not necessarily in person, but you've been to Arena Mexico before. What should we be looking forward to tomorrow night on AEW Grand Slam?
It is a historic arena, no doubt. And I've never performed in Arena Mexico, Conrad.
Wow.
I was all those years at different venues, but God, when you talk about a red hot promotion, Conrad, and you're as much a historian as I am, but I go back, but there was a time when, but sellouts, the consecutive sellouts blow me away. I know, Memphis and Louisville, and for years and years and years, the Garden and Bruno and Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens. And that's, front and center on some news these days, and just the different wrestling buildings, Sportatorium through the years, but nothing I don't really think compares to the longevity, butts in seats. And I guess I'll say it, the cultural significance that in Mexico, you got telenovelas and you've got what we call soccer, but do you have professional wrestling that goes back, their anniversary show isn't 20 years or 30 years or 40 years. Like, what are we up to now? 80 something years, Conrad? I don't know exactly what it is, but that building, which is owned by the promotion, and super red hot right now, but man, it goes back decades and decades and decades. So when you tune in to Dynamite, you literally are watching wrestling history right before your very eyes. And to have the global brand that AEW is to basically plop into that arena, which is, it's just kind of unheard of. You talk about, and I don't want to say a forbidden door, but it's pretty cool to see AEW, if you will, taking over for the night, because it's a through and through AEW global broadcast from Arena Mexico.
By the way, I think most of our listeners remember that the WWF became a thing in the 60s, but CMLL is 92 years old. And this past April, Arena Mexico celebrated their 70-year anniversary. Think about all the lucha stars, the foreign stars. Think about all the wrestling talent that has wrestled in that building over the last 70 years. Let's take a look at Adam Copeland's, I guess we'll call it, wish list of things he still wants to accomplish in wrestling, because you mentioned, Jeff, that you yourself have never wrestled in Arena Mexico. Are there other venues that you think of that you think, hey, I've never wrestled there, I'd like to do something? We saw you do something a few years ago at Wembley Stadium. You've done it twice over there, had some in-ring appearances. Are there other venues besides Arena Mexico that you think, hey, that would be fun? Because I feel like at this point you've probably hit them all, right? Or did I miss one?
I may have missed one that's not, you may say, oh yes, but I mean, when I think of Australia, Rod Laver Arena, and different things there, you think about Japan, there's Osaka, and then of course the Tokyo venues. I've hit those. I can't really think of one across North America, Canada, and the U.S., and I may be missing one. When you think about Puerto Rico, Bayamon Stadium, and there's all the Puerto Rican venues that have held classic deals all across the country. And, either what's cool is the old Boston Garden. I was a part of the last match in the Montreal Forum before it's moved to the big building. So I got lucky enough, or I've been around long enough. I was the tail end on all the old school buildings, and I've hit a lot of the new ones. But to me, CMLL is kind of on that bucket list. It's one that I haven't, but kind of I can't really think of one. I mean, Royal Albert Hall, I talk about that from time to time. A cool building that got to. I mean, what, wrestling in Royal Albert Hall? Yeah, we did it. But no, Conrad, I can't really think. But it's the Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens. That
You
deal,
hit that one.
Yes, I can't. I just when I think of in that dressing room, and it was winter, and I was freaking freezing cold that night. And I don't know if it was Lanza or Gurria or one of the agents. They just chuckled about that and said, "Oh, quit bitching, go get a coat." But anyway, I can't think of one, Conrad. Any of the old bucket list venues that have so much nostalgia.
I mean, you hit the Mid-South Coliseum, obviously. You hit the Sportatorium. You've hit the Allstate Arena. You've hit Madison Square Garden. You've even hit the Tokyo Dome, Korakuen Hall. Arena Mexico is still a niche maybe to scratch. I mean, I should know this. It feels like it had to happen with all the independents that have run there. But have you wrestled in the old ECW arena, the 2300 arena? Have you wrestled there?
So you know what? Oh yeah, TNA shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was something that God, it was just in that era. I would have, and I chuckled. I've whether it's Dreamer or Bubba or any EC Taz or any of those guys, I would have loved to have. I know Lawler did it. I'd love to have gone in there as a heel, in the right vein. But no, TNA. We brought the show there. I can't think of any.
I think of that all the time as a big ECW fan. Like for my senior trip in high school, much like Tony Khan, when he was, I think 14 or 15, he made a pilgrimage to see the Doctor Is in ECW in 1996. Mine was CyberSlam 99. Wow. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, all my friends, they were wanting to go to Mexico and do some sort of cruise and hit the bars. And I was like, Mom and Dad, I'd like to go to the corner of Swanson and Rittner. But we had a great time. I mean, it was an absolute blast, and I'll never forget it. I'm glad I got to see it when it was at its height. But now getting to know you and specifically JBL so well over the last few years, I can't help but imagine in a different time and space, if you got to strut ass in there as the original Double J character, it feels like, man, you were just everything they hated about the WWF and sports entertainment and showmanship. And then JBL with the cowboy hat, like I could see that being a damn near riot. You two guys tearing it up.
And I would also, and Lawler probably touched on it, but I would have, as the heel vein, I would have loved to have blistered the crowd and said, "You guys think you're original? Everything you've done up here, we created. Don't tell me you're hardcore. Don't tell me about this, and this, and this. It all created in Paul Heyman's brain when he worked for me." Or whatever, work for my dad or have fun with it. Or something.
I love that so much.
That it'd been fun.
Of course, my world continues, not just here each and every week, but you're actually taking the show across the pond. We know that AEW is headed to London. Wembley Stadium is on deck for All In. Tickets are on sale now at AEWTIX.com. But more importantly, you've got not one, but two shows across the pond. This time your pal Grado is going to be helping you out. Of course, with some surprise special guests. You've got a Glasgow show going down on Thursday, August 25th. You can pick up your tickets right now at doublejlive.com. There will be an opportunity for you to do a meet and greet, and I imagine you'll get to do that pre-show. And if you got autographs or pictures or whatever you're looking for, maybe you've got some of these new iconic Double J action figures, you can get that autographed at doublejlive.com in Glasgow. That's on Thursday, August 25th. But we're not done because that is a Tuesday. What about Saturday? The day before the big show at the White Horse in London. doublejlive.com is where you need to be. The meet and greet will start at 2:00. The actual show will start at 3:00. This is going to be an extremely limited affair. You don't want to miss it. You're going to hear some stories that you can't hear on the podcast. I have recommended to Jeff that he use some of those Joe Rogan Faraday bags so nobody can record it. Because if you're looking for some stories where maybe somebody gets buried, maybe there's some sex, drugs, and rock and roll, maybe it's the dark side of TNA that they can't air on Vice, you're going to hear it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly at the White Horse in London. Tickets on sale now at doublejlive.com. I have a feeling you're going to come back with some stories this weekend, Jeff.
I cannot wait. The London show is the White Horse. It's a cool, intimate, the connection of a connection. I'll leave that for another day. They reached out and I said, man, I've been in there. It's not the biggest place. And so we landed on it, and I'm telling you, super limited tickets, but we're going to have a blast in Glasgow. It's not a glass cow. I've been corrected. And I don't know if you've seen a Grado and Mark Dallas Instagram post, but they have a lot of fun with it. But it's not Glass Cow, it's Glass Go, right? Right, Grado? But Des Clark, the hilarious Des Clark. So that show is going to be, as we say in the South County, that show's going to be a hoot.
doublejlive.com is where you can pick it up. And I asked myself, Jeff just did WrestleCon, then Jeff did Cats football. Now he's going to be hitting the jet, probably the private jet, knowing him, headed to Arena, Mexico. Then he's going across the pond. He's going to Glasgow. He's going to London. How's he managing to still look like Double J? Well, the secret sauce is Factor. Factor is for busy people who want to feel good and feel accomplished. There's over 175 different banned ingredients with Factor. Now, why does that matter? Because every Factor meal is designed around what supports a healthier lifestyle and nothing that doesn't. That's why Jeff and Karen, the queen, the king and the queen, both love Factor. Factor makes chef-crafted, dietitian-designed, ready-to-eat meals so you never have to choose between real food and convenience. And I know it sounds crazy, but what really got Jeff's attention, they banned 175 different ingredients. You know, Jeff can tell you a lot about how he's been able to really turn his body around. I could argue that he looks better physically than ever before. How's he doing it at his age? Factor is a big part of that. And it doesn't get any easier than Factor. Hell, the meals are ready in 2 minutes. They require no prep and no cleanup. And that makes a queen happy these days. So even on the days your schedule is completely out of control, eating well is still achievable. Every week, you're going to find over 100 nutrient-dense menu items to choose from. And there's always new options. Like, check this out. Salmon burgers, shredded pork, collard greens, and more. Plus, they've got really cool add-ons you'll crave, like pumpkin-flavored cheesecakes and protein shakes. Over 97% of users agree that Factor meals help them live a healthier life. So you can feel confident that you're doing something good for yourself and with every meal. But here's what's most important for me, and you can tell, if it don't taste good, we ain't eating it in the Thompson household. But the Factor meals, man, it's restaurant quality stuff, and you have it at your convenience with no fuss, no muss, just heat and eat. It's hard to beat. I love it. Megan loves it. The king and the queen love it. Your family will too. Let's eat real. Head on over to factormeals.com/myworld50off and use the code myworld50off. You'll get 50% off and one free breakfast item per box for a whole year while supplies last until October 31st, 2026. That's myworld50off. That's your code at factormeals.com. myworld50off. Oh, check it out. He's got the energy bites right there handy with him. You know what to do. Go to factormeals.com/myworld50off and use that code myworld50off. See the website for details. Jeff, you're eating some protein bites there. What are you munching on today?
These are actually energy bites. It's been a crazy busy morning. A lot of folks go, wonder what Jeff does when Connie does those reads. I either run and use the bathroom or I eat a snack. And the queen, as she did a cameo earlier as we were rocking and rolling, got me energy bites. Folks, it's the real deal. I don't just endorse this product. I eat the hell out of it.
Were you clapping cheeks, Jeff? Is that why you had to eat those energy bites? Was it, oh, poor, pitiful Jeff, and you needed to go one-on-one with the great one and needed a little protein?
Oh, Lord.
Is that what you were doing, Jeff?
It's just Dornack.
Tell the truth. What were you doing? Why'd you need that energy bite, buddy? Huh? Were you clapping cheeks? Is that what you were doing? I bet you strutted your ass into the home studio today, didn't you? Woo! You know what to do. Come on. If the Nature Boy was here, here's what. Woo! Come on. You know what he's doing.
Dornack is something else.
Let's chat a little bit about SummerSlam. It is a tentpole event.
Real quick.
Yes, sir.
Honest question, because it in my brain, and I said, well, I'll ask it on the pod. What's the story on the Rolex at the National? Because I didn't. Oh no, I shouldn't have brought that up. I can just tell. Okay.
Let me just say this: Roman Scharf, who by the way runs a company called Luxury Bazaar, is a phenomenal watch guy. Like if you're looking for, he's not my personal watch guy. I have a personal friend named Jeff Fear down in Provident Jewelry. I may have hooked you up with him before. He made the Dynamite Diamond Ring for AEW and a lot of other cool stuff. He made Rick some custom cufflinks years ago, shaped like the big gold belt. I mean, he's got his finger on the pulse of all things wrestling. But Roman Sharf has kind of been an industry leader in the watch game and the timepiece game for a long time. The name of his operation is Luxury Bazaar. They had a hit YouTube show during the pandemic called The Gray Market. And it was a really fun YouTube show. And he's really understanding how to grow his business through doing social media. And he replicated the WrestleMania 24 watch that Shawn Michaels gave Ric Flair and gifted it to him at the National, and it brought a tear to his eye. And now Ric Flair is strutting around feeling like he used to with a tribute watch.
So it's a tribute
iconic
watch.
WrestleMania 24 watch. Yes, sir.
Okay, you answered. It's a tribute watch. I didn't follow okay, got it.
If you look at them side by side, they're a little different. I don't want to spoil Roman's deal. He did a cool thing. He did a nice thing. High five for everybody.
Yeah, right on.
Let's chat a little bit about SummerSlam. Of course, SummerSlam is one of the biggest events in wrestling each and every year. From a WWE standpoint, WrestleMania is clearly the number one brand. I've had this discussion and debate with a lot of my wrestling friends for many years. Do you think Royal Rumble or SummerSlam is the number two, at least in your opinion?
Rumble 2.
I like SummerSlam better.
Okay.
And the reason I do, don't get me wrong, I love Royal Rumble. But if I'm honest with you, Royal Rumble oftentimes feels a little predictable. I mean, even as a kid, when I go back and I take a look at like Virgil or Bushwhacker, I'm like, hey, they're not going to win. I mean, I know that once upon a time they did a live battle royale, or maybe it was a Royal Rumble at a house show in Madison Square Garden, and the Brooklyn Brawler won. I wish they would do more of that. But now that we've put stakes behind it where the winner is going to challenge at WrestleMania, well, the Brooklyn Brawler's never winning. So you kind of know before the match starts, hey, it's probably going to be one of these three guys, and it's probably this one. So it feels a little predictable. And if I'm honest with you, Royal Rumble feels like it's the precursor. If we were at Outback, it's the bloomin' onion to the steak that is WrestleMania. But SummerSlam feels like, hey, after the hangover, if you will, of WrestleMania, we've kind of got another mid-year big super show, and that's SummerSlam. I feel like Royal Rumble kind of sets up WrestleMania, whereas SummerSlam feels like the summer's WrestleMania, at least to me.
You will relate to this. By default, when you asked that, I immediately went to the number 2 revenue generator. It's positioned just by design. So, Conrad, I'm going to take off my revenue hat, and whatever promotion it may be, my brain would always be geared. What is our Super Bowl? What's our World Series? Whatever it is. What's the biggest? Then what's 2? And then probably what's 3 and 4. And then the other, the theory of relativity comes in. But Conrad, here's what is my favorite to book or creatively or to perform on, or now you can just kind of say that as you roll on down, what's the favorite one to watch? Without question, it would be, in this WWE analogy, WrestleMania 1, SummerSlam 2. Why is that? It's because you are so far off from Mania that it is not a build at all. This is, hypothetically speaking, blow off. Conrad, when I used to sit in the creative rooms with TNA, I would sit back and we would get into these discussions and the 12-week arcs, and you had Bound for Glory in the fall, Lockdown in the spring, and we would kind of build in there. But the one show that I said, hey guys, blow it out, and this is a celebration of the entire brand, would be Slammiversary, that would fall in June. And so I always feel like SummerSlam is that for the product. That is, yes, you're going to have some blow-offs, but for the most part, the viewer wins. It's the summer celebration, and I'm trying to think how the old chairman used to always, what was that time? The biggest, I don't know what SummerSlam party of the year. It was that kind of festive. And I know Great American Bash at one time was that summer tour and a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm with you. As far as a fan's point of view, it feels like these summer blowout shows are the most fun to watch.
Yeah, they've called it the biggest party of the summer, the biggest event of the summer.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a wrestling who's who this weekend, not just with WrestleCon, but not one night of SummerSlam, 2 nights. We've broken that down a little bit here on the show. I know that WWE is getting a lot of rights fees, and as a part of that, what these municipalities are looking for is what's the economic impact of the event being held there. So they're not just looking at the number of tickets sold. Yes, that's important, but they really want to know, hey, how many hotel nights are being booked? How many meals are being served at restaurants? What's the traffic at the bars? Like, as you're just taking a look at all things that, see a spike when an event of this magnitude comes into town, that's what those municipalities are writing a check for. And so, because of that, I think a 2-night SummerSlam is here to stay. We've already established a 2-night WrestleMania. Before we talk more about the overall card, what do you think about just the concept of a 2-night SummerSlam? Are you for it?
Yeah, without question. It gives, I think it's the evolution. And I think there is a sense of, they need to go back to one night. And I don't want to read too much into that because I haven't really sat back and tried to get the temperature, everything. But I don't think you're going to put that toothpaste back in the tube per se. And, when you look at a football stadium, there's too many empty seats and this, and they petition that off. Well, now most major markets have a football stadium. They got a baseball stadium. They may have a minor league stadium. They may have a soccer stadium. So I think the 2 nights are here to stay. I think it's all going to go into what we've talked about over and over and over. TKO is laser focused on butts and seats and revenue. And if you take it back to one night, I think sponsorship, I think all the ancillary quote unquote revenue or other revenue beside ticket sales is going to go away. They're not going to do that. And, coming through the line, Conrad, we hadn't got a chance to check up. I like to do my little focus group on business and this and that. I mean, maybe in an outlier or two, I got to get back to work. But I would say, hey, man, and there were some people in the Minneapolis market that, God bless them, AEW fans, they weren't going to either night. But for the most part, those folks were going to both nights. It comes to town. Lots of Iowa folks, lots of Dakota folks drove over. They made a weekend out of it. So it just gives, Mania and SummerSlam 2 nights event. It's definitely here to stay, if you ask me.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It feels like a no-brainer. I think it won't be too long before we've got a pretty consistent 2-night Royal Rumble 2. It is interesting to think that I don't think it's been announced as of yet. So stay tuned for that. It will be interesting to see what that looks like.
And they announced Survivor Series at Astros. Did they?
Yeah, and in Houston, yes.
One night. That's where I was asking. Was it one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
Sunday night, it looks like, according to WrestleTix, we had 33,086 tickets distributed. Saturday night, we had a little more than that, 35,759. Is that a surprise to you that Saturday night 1 sold better than night 2? I only ask because I feel like a lot of people, and we even talked about this last week, where Seth Rollins sort of said, hey, whatever closes the weekend, whatever show goes on last on night 2, that's the real main event. We'll talk about the actual card. That's kind of a separate thing. But I would think, just with a broad brush, hey, Sunday is going to sell more tickets than Saturday. What is the lesson or the takeaway by Saturday selling more? Is it based on the matches that were announced, or is it more a function of travel and it's not a 3-day weekend? People had to get home to real life. What do you think?
I think now brands sell, the WWE brand, the SummerSlam brand. Conrad, they had that we hadn't touched on. WrestleCon, and 2 blocks away or 3 blocks away was a Fanatics event. And they had their we'll call them A-list legends, if you will, there. So a lot goes into the weekends now. And I don't think any one person that buys those travel packages says, I'm going to hold up on buying the travel packages. I got to see what the card is. That's where promoting is. Oh boy, I had these conversations. I won't get into the Cats conversation, but I really did get into that we got in Conrad on Saturday. Albany played Minnesota, and it was a hot contested game. And the owner of the Minnesota team actually came on the field, contested the call. He didn't throw punches, but he got kicked out. And the conversation was, would you ever played Minnesota and Albany? And I said, hey man, truth be known, it's the championship game. They're not buying a ticket to see either one of those guys. And that's why the Super Bowl, it's people are coming to the event. So I don't really think the match order or who's doing what, and we'll get into the subjectivity of Brock going on last in a second. But no, Conrad, I think the fact that it's Saturday night and there are some people, there were some outliers, like I said, that got to get back to work. And, obviously the affordability is going to factor in. But traveling on Sunday, and man, I even Saturday night, heading out in the airport, I saw quite a few folks that came into town, Conrad, that they were flying out, that they said, no, we did. I don't know. They were doing a couple of things, but like, we got to get home. Now, I know that isn't the majority at all, but no, I think Saturday night moving forward will always be the number one night.
That's interesting. Well, let me hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments. Do you agree with Jeff? Do you think that Saturday, just because of the logistics, and it is also worth mentioning, the American economy is not as strong as ever right now. There's a real case for the haves and the have-nots right now. If you're heavily invested in the stock market, hey man, you're loving life right now. But if you're not, then you're probably like, I don't know if we can afford to do the extra night in the hotel. I don't know if we can afford to do 2 nights of tickets. We need to get home. And if you stay over a Saturday night, oftentimes your airfare is more affordable. And I've heard a lot of people talking, Jeff, recently that airfare seems like it's more expensive. So let us know in the comments below. Do you agree with Jeff? Do you think that Saturday night will become the A show? This could be an interesting shift because I just sort of assumed Sunday's the bigger show.
If you're a music promoter, go ask them. You want to be on Saturday? No. Yeah, it's like Saturday night is so much. There is exponentially more motivation to run an event on Saturday versus Sunday, and I don't think wrestling's immune to that.
And to be clear, I know this isn't, applicable to the discussion we're having, but even from a rent standpoint, venues will cut you a better deal on a Sunday night than they will a Friday or a Saturday, no question. So let us know below. What do you think? Could the first night wind up being the better night? As far as the overall card over the weekend, I actually preferred night 2. Did you have a chance to see both nights, Jeff? And which was your favorite?
Of course, I'm traveling home from WrestleCon and got you'll love this, Conrad. Old Codes kicked the Queen to the back. Me and Cody, not to the back, but right behind us. So we sat side by side up in first, and Cody was loving life, but he had one iPad of SummerSlam, and I was watching Arena 1. But we were going back and forth, so I didn't get to see everything on Saturday and Sunday last night. There was a guy up in the TV room that he was in. He's a tech guy, so he didn't have to follow plays and all this kind of stuff, but he had his screen on as well, SummerSlam, and I peeked over his shoulder, and the ladies' ladder match entrances were going on. And I said, hey, man, pay attention to the game. But so I didn't get to see very little bits and pieces of last night. So I'm not going to be the best judge of it or have the strongest opinions, but I did get to see enough, a little bit here and there. So anyway, that's my SummerSlam digestion, but I did get to see obviously the online stuff too, because I knew we would be discussing it today, Conrad.
Let's talk about some of the card from SummerSlam Night 1. We had Nikki, Brie Bella, and Paige against Fatal Influence. What was interesting to me about this, and I don't know that a lot of people have put this together, but Lainey Reed, who's a part of Fatal Influence, she's from Gadsden, Alabama. Did you know that, Jeff?
No, sir, I did not, but good for her.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. Everybody in North Alabama was talking all about it over the weekend, and I knew she was a part of NXT, and she started at the Performance Center. But yeah, there you see, they're victorious. Unfortunately, it looks like Brie Bella suffered a shoulder injury that Triple H described as being pretty bad.
Oh,
we don't know if that means dislocated or separated shoulder.
Did she just come off injury? Correct me if I'm wrong.
That was Nikki.
That's what I thought. Oh, Jesus.
Brie was getting ready to wrestle. We saw footage over the past week of Bryan Danielson and Aaron Solo helping her get ready. And darn it, she separates the shoulder. I don't know if that's, obviously things happen, but obviously when you get older and you don't have as many reps, you become more and more likely to have these sort of things. I'm really hoping for a storybook ending with the Bellas, but it does feel like, and if it wasn't for bad luck, they'd have no luck at all over the last little bit.
Hate to hear that. Hate to hear that. I know you're going to get into it. Well, anyway, I'll ask this after you get through night 1.
Well, here's what I'd like to ask you, Jeff. let's say hypothetically, the
Oh,
queen comes
boy.
downstairs and she says, Jeffrey, mama needs some attention. What would be your go-to sponsor for that?
Karen wants attention.
Yeah. You're not picking up what I'm putting down.
We've already done Cash App.
We're talking about Blue Chew. Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. It's time to measure your days, not in minutes and hours, but in boners and rounds with your woman in Blue Chew Gold. Blue Chew Gold is better sex than a tablet. They combined 4 ingredients into one powerful solution. You got 2 ingredients to get you ready physically and 2 to support arousal and desire in the brain. Blue Chew Gold works fast and it lasts. And now guys have a complete experience in the bedroom with Blue Chew Gold. There's a reason Blue Chew is the #1 brand for better sex. Go experience it for yourself right now at bluechew.com. It's going to be stroke after stroke after stroke. Hit her with your finish, kid. See if she'll put you over. Maybe go 2 out of 3 falls. Is it no holds barred? Well, maybe it's your birthday. I don't know. We've got a special deal for our listeners right now, though. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the 3rd for free with the promo code MyWorld. That's promo code MyWorld. You'll also receive an additional 10% off and free overnight shipping on your first order. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the pod and the bedroom. Jeff, let's keep it going. On night 1, we saw the Bloodline. That's Jacob Fatu, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso in there with some of our pals. The former Will Hobbs, we know him these days as Royce Keys, Solo Sequoia, and LA Knight. LA Knight, Royce, and Solo were victorious. This is the second time we've seen the former Powerhouse Hobbs in a major PLE. Of course, he made his debut at the Royal Rumble, worked a ton of dark matches at the live events, and now here we go. He's getting his hand raised in a stadium show, a dome show at SummerSlam. But there was a lot of discussion about LA Knight. We'll talk about that momentarily, but did you have a chance to see the match? What'd you think of this one in the positioning?
Cody gave me the heads up. He watched it. He loved it. Hobbs was always super good to him. But I can't, I'm just glad to see, when I heard, I'll call it the dark match grind, I just applauded that because I know this sounds somewhat old school, but nothing replaces ring time, no matter what. And if you go to a new promotion, a new place, the rings, the talent, the audience, I just want to stress the audience. It is a new audience just because you jump from one promotion to another, no matter where you go. Everybody is dialed in on a certain frequency. But one thing that I just saw right there, did you see old Chris Van Vliet in the front row?
Absolutely. He was front and center, and he was producing some content there all weekend. I wanted to chat you up about LA Knight, though, specifically because it feels like in code, Triple H was asked a question and he had to respond to it. It was really in response to something Damian Priest made, where he made some sort of comment about how it's the same talent in all the top spots. And I don't know if Triple H was gotten to, but it did feel like he was a little defensive. I want to run through what he said here with you, Jeff, and gauge your attention. Look, I get that. If you're the guy that wants to take the spot, it's frustrating when there's guys above you and have that spot. And that's the thing. We're in a period of time where there's a lot of top performers and top spots that over time have earned those spots, and they're selling tickets and are incredibly popular. So you really have to do something. The narrative of, oh, it's my turn, I've been here a while. There's no turns. That's not how it works. You earn a spot. Believe me. If somebody is getting over more than somebody else, we move that person into the spot and move the other person down. But it's not just that. It's not just that they're getting the loud crowd reaction. Are they going to be good in the spot? Are they going to hold up their end of the bargain? Are they going to screw up if we give it to them? Are they going to make a mistake that we regret? There's all those things factored in. The right human being, the right position. And I love the fact that sometimes talent are like, well, it's frustrating. Great. That means work harder. Get yourself there. Figure it out. Figure the way. Figure how it gets done. I've seen a million talents succeed because of what they do. Not because of storyline or creative that, quote, they gave them the spot. 99% of the time in this business, the person gets over, then gets the push. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. You go do you, then we follow it, because otherwise, most of the time, they will choke on it if it's not what the fans believe in. Big believer, if you want the spot, go take it. It's all there for anyone to take. Whenever anybody says, I don't know why I'm not in that spot. Are you more over than Cody? More over than Roman? Punk? Liv? Io? The people in that spot, get there. Make those crowd reactions. Whatever you need to make it happen, that's what we're all here to do. I love that mentality because I think it makes people work harder. And if they're not willing to work to get the spot, then you shouldn't have it anyway. He said this on the SummerSlam post show night one. And I don't know if it went all that great, but it feels like he was, without saying his name, talking a little bit about LA Knight. It's not lost on a lot of people who watched Unreal, where we saw that there was a spot in the Money in the Bank match that they covered last year. Perhaps it was year before. And we get a great shot of Triple H basically admonishing LA Knight in the gorilla position. And people felt like, oh, they're burying LA Knight on the show. And if you'll recall, LA Knight has come out and done interviews since where he says, hey, I've got a whole nother version of that, but I'm not going to talk about it now. It does me no favors. But I will say this. I don't stop and solicit feedback anymore. I just walk right through Gorilla and go to the locker room. And if they've got something that they want to say to me, they know where to find me. And I thought to myself, I don't know if that's how you get in the favor and the good graces of the office, but it's a strategy. We'll see how it works out for him. Chat me up. What do you think of Triple H sort of laying it out like this, that, hey, go get over. That's how it works. Are you the right person for the right spot? Can we trust you? Are you going to screw up? Are you going to make a mistake? What do you think of this?
Oh, God. Oh, I need Darnak's voice to get through this because, I chuckle. The jumping off point here, and I have said this, and I don't, I will not apologize for sounding like a broken record here, but the reality is, what makes a number one hit? What makes a top guy? The song or the singer? I know that sounds, so I'll say the song is creative. The singer is the talent. How do you get to have a number one hit and then have another one with number one hit? It takes both. The thing that there's a lot of validity in that quote that you just read of it. I'll say an awful lot. The flip side of that is, and you touched on it, well, on Unreal. That to me, because it is it's not a dirt sheet. It's not a A&E kind of behind the scenes or whatever it may be. It's produced and created and presented as Netflix shoulder programming. And when you see and eavesdrop and soundbite in and they do the edit the way they want to do the edit, at the end of the day, there's no kind of gray area. Creative is driving the ship completely, and talent does as they're told. That's where you get into this unique set of circumstances that the Unreal product that comes out and his post-show comments come back, they don't align. And I think there is a growing audience that's going, no, wait a minute. This is the guy that produces Cody Rhodes. Every mannerism, every however
and posted on social, by the way. Now, Cody, here's how you walk to the ring, and here's how you take your fucking helmet off. Okay. I know you're a multiple-time world champion, but let me just show you how to do it. And not only show you how to do it, I'm gonna have somebody stand behind me and film it, and then I'm gonna post it.
Okay. I know, Conrad, but I'm trying to be diplomatic here. But when you put that into and I know it's a new era and all this and that, but the wrestling audience, and God bless Teeny Jarrett, she was always so doubled down that they're in tune, and they, without question, he who writes the check writes the rules. That doesn't just go for the investor. That goes for the paying audience. And so when you dial in that you're telling the paying audience, I tell Cody how to wipe his butt. So LA Knight over here, hey man, go get over. I'm not going to tell you how to wipe your butt. It doesn't jive.
I'm just curious. Do you think there's ever been a time since they've been filming Unreal? Do you think there's ever been a time where Roman Reigns came back through the curtain and Triple H said, hey, next time, why don't we do this? Do you think there's ever been any sort of criticism or feedback or discussion between the office and the top guy? Or do they just let the top guy just do whatever the hell he wants?
Never.
Do you think there's any collaboration?
Sure. It's,
Well,
it's
why don't they show that on Unreal, Jeff?
because that isn't the story they want to tell. And that's where I would love to know what Netflix pays WWE for Unreal. Like, let's drill down. Let's look at this ROI and say, are we creating brand confusion? Are we losing consumer confidence? Is this worth what's the old saying, worth the squeeze? I don't know, because it feels like, casualty after casualty. And I'm not saying it's nothing they can't overcome, but I'm thinking, hey, that we're talking about this on here, and I get it, but we're not the only ones talking about it. It feels like they're talking about that more than anything. And I don't know, Conrad. It's just I think slippery slope.
I don't think it's slippery at all. I mean, I think this is a decision that they're making. I mean, I don't know why people don't say the quiet part out loud. Unreal, I believe to a certain extent, is a necessary evil, because the intent of Unreal, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, is to establish Triple H as the new Vince McMahon. I don't mean that in the negative way, but we've kind of had a transition of power, and we want to show, the old Paul Heyman, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. But we don't often see Triple H laying out, hey, Brock Lesnar, here's what you should have done. Hey, Roman Reigns, here's what you should have done. Just like if you think back to the Attitude Era, we never would have seen Vince McMahon saying, okay, Steve, here's what we'd like to see you do today. You don't do that. And I think it's interesting that on WWE radio, Triple H was on Busted Open last Tuesday, and he talked about Unreal. He says, it's a funny thing now, though, because of the business, because the paradigm has shifted to some degree. Everybody kind of knows what it is. We've opened that wide open with WWE Unreal. He further responded to the criticism, implying that veterans who were complaining, they're being hypocrites. And he says, it does make me laugh, though, when I see the old timers, he might be talking about you here, Jeff, who are legends in our business, talking about they give away too much and they tell people the insider stuff too much. Meanwhile, they're on a podcast where they do exactly that same thing every single day, and they've been doing it for years, but it's okay when they do it, right? I think that's interesting that he doesn't see the disconnect, because the difference is you're outside the tent discussing it as a critic, and we don't often see the person who's putting forth the show being critical of the talent. We've never really seen this before. And so I'm just wondering, can we really buy into Brock Lesnar as being the beast incarnate if he's coming back and getting the finger wag backstage? That's inconsistent to me. I don't know. It feels like they specifically decided, hey, we're not going to push LA Knight. He's going to middle of the card guy, and we need a storyline in this show. So we got to get a little bit of controversy and some admonishing. So we're going to do that to LA Knight. And then we're going to film ourselves talking about, hey, can Jey Uso deliver? Is his cardio there? Can we trust him in this spot? We'll give him the belt for a little bit. And then when we pull it off, we'll just say, well, we told you he wasn't ready. You were giving reactions to him, but we told you that we didn't buy it, and we aired it. By the way, those conversations have to happen with about every talent at some point, but they're very selective in which ones they air and which ones they don't. And I don't think that's lost on me. And I don't think it's lost on the talent either. Like the whole narrative of, hey, just go get over, specifically the whole, they're going to push it down your throat. I mean, that was the thing when he says, let me find the exact, but it's not just that. It's not just they're getting the loud crowd reaction. Are they going to be good in the spot? Are they going to hold up their end of the bargain? Are they going to screw up if we give it to them? Are we going to make a mistake are they going to make a mistake that we regret? So it's almost like, hey, we trusted on you and you flubbed it up. I don't know, man. That to me feels like, hey, are you more over? Go take it. The person that gets over gets the push. That's how it's supposed to work. You go do you, then we follow it, because otherwise they will choke on it if it's not what the fans believe in. Oh, you mean like fucking Roman Reigns? Because he used to come out and they would boo him so loud they had to turn it down. But we all choked on that shit for years. Nobody bought it. Nobody believed in it. WrestleMania main event after another. And then Paul Heyman pops up at his shoulder and ta-da, it's a whole new coat of paint and it's working. So you say, is it the song or the singer? Well, it wasn't the creative and it wasn't Roman. It was the pairing with Paul Heyman that led to the Bloodline story. It's the insertion of Sami Zayn, and the thing worked. But you can't tell me that boy, Roman, this crowd was just loving Roman. We had to give it to him. That's not the way it works. WWE decided Roman was going to be the top guy. They positioned him like the top guy. How do you do that? The old Bob Holly. Give me the belt and then let me go beat everybody. That's what they did. Right?
Yes.
I mean, on some level, Roman Reigns is Goldberg with 20-minute matches. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Jesus, that's good. But no, what's like, again, it's just the whole psychology and the busted open quote that he was like, okay, we're saying this, and he's knocking these old timers, and you pointed out like the glaring obvious thing is, no, wait a minute. You're at the center of this, and you're punching down to podcasters and knocking them. What? Like, this is a head scratcher. And I often think when you like this topic of conversation, just sitting back and thinking, wonder how the chairman, and I'm not, look, I know every dog has its day, and he, he's incredible, no peers, Vince. And okay, but maybe time's passing by. I don't know. That's not up for that's not part of this. What I'm saying is the fundamental discussion of the essence of our business. And yes, things do evolve, but the positioning of talent, what you just said is that, okay, we're going to protect this guy and not push this guy. But then in the post show, you're going to make those kind of comments. And then I said about 2 weeks ago, somebody was saying something about, hey, did you see the new clip on Unreal? And I said, I tell you what, I'll say this about Unreal, and no, I hadn't seen it. The best way to get over in WWE is to be made a fool of on Unreal, because at some point the tide will turn and it's going to be undeniable, because people are going to say, you watch. I don't think we've heard the last of LA Knight. There will be a groundswell that it'll be undeniable, in my opinion. I may be wrong, Conrad, but it's coming.
I just feel like, LA Knight is a curious case, because I feel like he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I don't know that he would be the type of performer that they would want in AEW. I don't know if that's his style of wrestling. And I mean, LA Knight feels like a sports entertainer, and I don't know if that translates. And we know, respectfully, there's not big money to be made in TNA. So he's kind of where he's at. But this is the same guy who 2 years ago beat Logan Paul to become the United States champion at a stadium in Ohio at SummerSlam. That's like, home territory for Logan Paul. And now 2 years later, he's in a 6-man. And I just don't think that that's accidental. Now, some of that could be, LA Knight's not soliciting feedback anymore because he feels like he's been betrayed or double crossed. But that was a decision WWE made. And now he's justified to feel however he feels. But it does feel like he's getting the Christian treatment. I think Christian's doing his best work since he's been in AEW. But once upon a time, Christian was beloved by fans, getting good reactions. And for whatever reason, if you believe the stories, Vince McMahon just did not like Christian. He talked about putting a blue dot over his face. Just get him off TV. I don't want him on TV. So it doesn't matter how good of a wrestler he is, because a lot of the guys in the business, they tell me, and I won't name names here, hey, Christian's the smoothest I was ever in the ring with. That guy is just a natural. He gets it. And we know that he can cut promos. We know that fans like Christian, but for whatever reason, it's like they never really got the machine behind him. I feel like LA Knight's kind of in a similar spot right now. Not comparing the two from an in-ring or promo perspective, but maybe it's WWE purgatory, and maybe Damian Priest is there too. So I'm excited that he's trying some new stuff in AAA. It seems to have worked wonders for Chad Gable, who was just floundering on the main roster for a long time. He needed a new coat of paint. I don't know what gets there for LA Knight, but I hope it happens, because what they did for Chad Gable, I think is possible to happen for LA Knight. But the company's got to get behind it. And it feels like they're choosing not to, Jeff.
Creative is subjective. If you're not a Triple H guy, you're not a Triple H guy. If you're not a Vince guy, you're not a Vince guy. It ain't happening. It's just not. But that doesn't mean you throw in the towel. You keep tweaking and moving this chess piece and that chess piece and doing what you can do. And I think that's kind of where LA Knight, that's where Christian's been. That's where I've been. That's when many times been. You just keep surviving and tweaking this and tweaking that, and listening to your audience and getting better. Your time will come. The cream always rises to the top. And so that's why there is some validity in what Paul was saying, Triple H was saying, is a little bit here and there. But at the end of the day, the part he's leaving out is you got to become one of his guys for it to ultimately happen. That's the creative part. Roman was always, quote unquote, one of their guys, as you said, but they tweaked and they tweaked and they tweaked. And the reality is the creative came along with Sammy and Heyman. That is what was all the gas that was needed. The other stuff, and I think Roman would admit it, the big dog and this and that, it didn't move the needle. It didn't do this, but boy, oh boy, Heyman and the story, and then the legitimacy of the family there and the lineage. It doesn't hurt that Rock's in the family. All that kind of stuff brought to light. It was much more than a new coat of paint. It was a creative direction that people could sink their teeth into. That literally was personal issues draw money, and Sammy could bring that off and like, hey man, I'm not part of the bloodline, but I'm, Oos and that. It all connected in an entertaining way.
Speaking of entertaining, I think, to be clear, huge fan of WWE. I know we're being critical about some things here, there, and yon. That's behind the scenes. You want to talk about when WWE does it right? I thought they nailed the Gunther Nick Aldis storyline. I think it may have been my favorite storyline over the entire SummerSlam weekend. And a lot of that, I'll admit, is because I happen to really like the human being, Nick Aldis. But what a story it is. This guy's a former NWA world champion, a former TNA world champion, and he hasn't wrestled in 3 years. His goal was to get to WWE, and he made it 3 years ago, but not as a wrestler, as a GM. He's tried to keep himself in good physique shape, but ring shape is a different thing. So no warm-ups on SmackDown, no warm-ups on Raw, no warm-ups at a live event or house show. Hey, just go out here on a stadium show and wrestle the guy who in the last year retired Goldberg and John Cena and AJ Styles. I think Nick more than answered the call. Of course, Gunther was victorious, as he should have been. But what a reaction from the crowd. A standing ovation in Minneapolis. And then what a cool moment to see his wife, Mickie James, and his young son, Donovan, join him in the ring as the crowd chants Aldis, their family name. He even got to come to the ring to an Oasis song. This feels like a movie. It was a Hallmark moment. And I know that at times people are critical of WWE creative, but when they're trying to tell a human story and really pull those emotional levers, man, they showed you with this story right here, they can hit a freaking home run. I loved it. What'd you think?
You know what comes to mind right out of the gate? Will you remember Gunther Aldis, Gunther Cena, Gunther AJ? Which one will you remember the most?
This one?
What take you out of the equation? The WWE universe. What resonated more, do you think, from an emotional point of view? And Gunther got his hand raised in all three.
I mean, I think that probably depends on which era you grew up in. If you were what we would call a lapsed fan and you're from the Attitude Era, then Goldberg on Saturday night's main event, maybe that would have been the thing that really caught your eye. But I think it's Nick Aldis.
I mean, all I'm saying is I think Aldis is in the running of Gunther, and that's what I'm saying. If you're an AJ fan, that was more. If you're a Goldberg,
sure,
seen it. But I'm saying, who in the hell would have ever thought Nick Aldis versus Gunther would have even been on Saturday night's or main event, not Saturday night's main event, let alone SummerSlam in a marquee match? And the people gave him a standing ovation, and Mickie got in the ring, and Donovan got in the ring, and I know I'm biased. I'm a OG Nick guy from way, way, way back. But that to me is the art of the story. And none of it to me surprised me. Like none of it. And I think at the end of the day, and I don't want to say the word heat, but the emotional connection, I believe that Nick did more for Gunther than Gunther did more for Nick, because the people were so into that and they were emotionally connected and said, son of a bitch. Gunther may sound crazy. Gunther got the rub from Nick.
It was fantastic. What a moment it was for Nick. It's probably the biggest moment in his career since the first All In. Of course, this was a much bigger scale and scope. More people will see this. There were more people in the arena and all that. But I remember Cody and Nick, even though it didn't go on last, it was technically a Ring of Honor show, and this was for the NWA title. that kind of felt like the real main event of All In. Forget what went on last. That felt like the main event to me as a fan. And a lot of that was because of the build that Lagana put together with Cody and Nick. I thought they hit a freaking home run with that. This has got to be right up there as the biggest moment, probably number one all time for Nick. And think about that too. We're saying it's the number one moment, not necessarily when he won the NWA title or he won the TNA world title, but when he lost to Gunther. And it's all because of the story. It was just real. It pulled the emotional lever. I loved it. And I want to know from you guys listening, what did you think of Nick Aldis and Gunther? Let us know in the comments below here on YouTube. Was it a story that resonated with you? Do you want to see more of Nick as a wrestler? And Jeff, I want to ask you, as Jeff Jarrett, a guy who's seen it all, a guy who's done it all. I'm not a wrestler, but I can imagine that when you are a wrestler and you've got the bug, you want to keep doing it as long as you can. We know Ric Flair did, but I'm wondering if you find yourself as a 39-year-old Nick Aldis, you're younger than everyone in the main event scene of WWE. You've still got a lot of gas left in the tank, but boy, you've got a pretty solid gig as an on-air character as the GM of SmackDown. And respectfully, there's more wrestlers who are quality television wrestlers than there is TV time to go around in WWE and AEW. That's just a fact. There's a lot of great people who they just don't have enough time to feature, and they wind up spending a lot of time in catering or just at home waiting for the phone call. But if you're a consistent television character with probably a great income to boot as a general manager, how do you reconcile that? Like if you were Nick Aldis, would your goal to be, hey, I want to try to transition to wrestle and just roll the dice? Or does the provider mentality and kick in and say, hey, I'm going to do GM and I hope they want me to do more matches? What would your thinking be coming out of SummerSlam? Let's do more GM. Let's do more wrestling, something else.
And I'm just off the top of my head. How old's Punk? 48? 47? Something.
Sounds right.
Yeah, roughly. Okay. Nick's 39. That means he's got 10 years left. The GM spot that gives you TV time and, again, the ability to connect emotionally to your audience in the GM role, love you or hate you, TV time, this and that, the way the products are, and I say products, AEW product, WWE product, TNA, the way the products are produced and distributed is, to me, it's all FaceTime. Get as much as you can. And do you want to be on 3 or 4 times a show in a talking role, or do you want to have a match every 3 weeks or whatever it may be? Because that's the reality now of just about every performer. If you're a main event guy, you're going to wrestle on the big ones and maybe a TV main event here and there. You just hit it. The abundance of talent is, I think it's unparalleled in the history of the business.
Agree.
And so that being said, I mean, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. Don't take yourself out of the game of building your brand, because that, he can always, I mean, there are so many things that you can do with this. And Nick's been around long enough, and folks have, that, if you're in the creative room and you are stuck for a main event and you go, oh, you know what? Why don't we make Nick Aldis special guest referee for this SmackDown's main event? Great idea. Okay, man, that went great. Oh, shoot. Let's bring him back in the babyface's corner next week, just on the floor, maybe special enforcer. The stories will write itself. He'll be right back in the ring before you know it.
So happy for Nick Aldis and his entire family. By the way, shout out to Gunther. If there were some weak spots, if there was any ring rust, I didn't see it. They did a phenomenal job. It was one of my favorite matches and moments of the weekend. We also saw Liv Morgan successfully defend her title against Io Sky. At different times, I have found myself sort of wondering about this ESPN partnership. There was a moment, I think it was on Friday, where they had some of the ESPN hosts pretend to do a WWE themed ring entrance on the set of SportsCenter. And I found myself saying, boy, this feels like they're kind of making a mockery of this. If I'm a non-fan, it feels a little silly. I saw other ESPN talking heads talking about the Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns story as if it were legitimate. And here we are an independent news organization supposed to be covering sports, and we're sort of telling stories in kayfabe. But I thought the graphic that they did when they had Liv Morgan on ESPN this week, I don't know if you've seen that, but they said 0 title defenses in the first 100 days of her reign as champion. I thought, boy, why would you highlight that? I get it is a stat, but I don't know if it's the stat I would show. But I also might not have booked CM Punk and Cody Rhodes second to last. I assumed that Punk and Cody would go on last. I kind of thought if we're really going to pass the torch to Obafemi, we don't want the hometown boy to lose in the last match. There were some false reports out that said that Brock campaigned and he wanted to go on last. That was debunked by Mike Johnson, who said that was totally false. I have heard who was campaigning to get that match on last. They were not involved in the match at all. But let's talk about CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, because there's a bit of a discussion about this. I don't know if you had a chance to see the match, but Dave Meltzer loved the match, said it was a great match, thought it was a great 80s style match. And if you like 80s wrestling, it was very, very good. Brian Alvarez, on the other hand, hated it. We did see at the end a fun surprise return from Randy Orton. We haven't seen him since WrestleMania. He was down on his back, as the legend goes. He was supposed to beat Cody at WrestleMania, but he had back issues, so they didn't make that call. Cody retained at WrestleMania, but he ate an RKO, and then Randy Orton turned, looked at the camera, and winked, and people went banana. What'd you think about Punk and Cody Rhodes on Saturday night?
That's funny. He called it an 80s match. I thought it was a story. And both guys worked their ass off in a story, and the Orton ace in the hole, if you will, progressed both. And SummerSlam, I thought it's very well done. And I can't say it's exactly what was needed, but okay, that's the direction they're going. I mean, it's funny. I guess I'm still pondering on Alvarez hated it. I'm not sure why you said he hated it, but that's the story. And
he called it sloppy. And here's the other thing.
Okay.
My phone lit up with some of my wrestling buddies who were all sort of mocking Punk's moonsault. I felt like Punk was very clearly trying to do a Terry Funk style moonsault, which isn't really a full flip. It's more of a turn to the side thing. And I think people were poking fun at that. But the reality is, I thought, hey, he was trying to do an homage to Terry Funk, one of his all-time favorite wrestlers. That was a Terry Funk moonsault. That is the exact way he did it. So when people were saying, oh, it's a botch, he shouldn't be doing moves like that. No, he meant to do it that way. I don't know. I think there's a lot of chatter about things that didn't really make sense. But and I don't know if you saw it, and I feel weird even talking about it here because it feels like it's unfair, but there was some chatter. I don't know if you saw. They say CM Punk shit his pants in the match. And a lot of fans were breaking down screen grabs and pointing to circles. And I'm like, what are we doing? It happens. Maybe he had too much of that Taco Bell lettuce. Can you believe this is even a talking point? Oh, I think CM Punk shit his pants at SummerSlam.
Well, you got to love online because, I mean, Jesus. But the term botch, like I saw the moonsault, and that is where, God bless wrestling fans. You know how, Conrad, we say, oh, we just want to believe. And as a fan, okay, I think there are certain wrestling fans, and I'm here for it. Keep watching, keep criticizing, keep commenting, keep doing what you want to do. It's the business. But I think there's a section of fans that want to believe that they know what they're talking about, and that they would never, ever, ever believe, oh, Punk moonsault. That's exactly how he wanted to do it and how you laid out. It was a funk, or it was his version. Like if Punk hit this textbook gymnastic moonsault, that
he hit a commander moonsault, like nobody expects that. Nobody wants to.
Hell no.
And by the way, I'm glad you said botch, because I hate that term too. And I understand that we all love botchamania. Shout out to Matthew.
If you slip on the rope, if you truly botch.
But I mean, even that, Jeff, like I know you're not a huge UFC fan, but I've watched so much MMA in my life. I see guys try for things that don't work out.
Oh, sure.
And it's like in a real fight, if me and you went down to the Waffle House and saw a brawl, And that could happen anytime we go into a Waffle House. If we saw a brawl, it's not going to look like we're seeing Superman versus Batman. Every blow is not going to be perfect and devastating and send the guy flying. People are going to miss. They're going to trip. They're going to slip. They're going to fall. If it's a shoot, if we really want to suspend our disbelief, it's supposed to look like a mess every now and again.
Oh, I could dive into stories like that. King Cole Fergie, first cousin of Lawler, we used to do a spot that he said, hey, man, you go for the lockup. I'm going to go for the top wrist lock. It's going to feel disjointed. That's how I want it. We're going to do it once and you don't let me have it. Do it twice. Don't let me have it. And it looked kind of funky. The third time I get the top wrist lock and then he pulls my hair and we start the match on a different way. But God, that's what I'm saying. Some people want to believe so bad that you have to have everything perfect and seamless in a dance contest and a true ballet performance. And if everything isn't flawless, that means it's a sloppy match. That is so far from reality. But hey, man, wrestling fans are going to bitch about what they want to bitch about.
Well, here's what we really want to know, Jeff. You ever shit your pants in a match?
No, but is that true? I mean, my goodness.
Listen, there's lots of stories out there. I mean, Punk has even admitted when he was on antibiotics before he left WWE the first time, he took a body slam on SummerSlam and shit his pants.
Ooh.
Ric Flair's told a story wrestling Ricky Steamboat. They were like 10 minutes into a 60-minute draw, and Rick turned his pink trunks brown, and the first few rows cleared out. I mean, it was bad. I mean,
alcohol can do that. Antibiotics can do that. A stomach bug can do that.
Taco Bell lettuce can do that. I mean,
Hey,
lots of things can do this. I
As
don't
they
know.
say, shit happens.
Shit does happen. Let's talk about the main event. It was
Darnak.
Brock Lesnar and
Hold on.
Obafemi.
Darnak, would he have any comments about that? Maybe later. Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. You know, my grandfather used to say, there's no stress like money stress, son. Well, are you feeling that right now? Let me help. You've got a friend in the mortgage business in me, and I've helped families just like yours save hundreds of dollars a month. Seriously, we've helped listeners to this podcast save up to $800 a month. At savewithconrad.com, we routinely help our podcast listeners consolidate all of their high interest rate credit cards into just one much lower monthly payment. Would you like to lower your monthly payments? Wouldn't it be nice to skip your next 2 house payments? Are you finally ready for some breathing room and peace of mind? Start saving money today with your friend in the mortgage business, me, at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. You see, at savewithconrad.com, we don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We want to be your mortgage advisor for life. So find out how easy it is to finally get rid of your credit card debt once and for all, get a much lower monthly payment, and even skip your next 2 house payments. Let's find out how much money you can save for free at savewithconrad.com.
NMLS number 1281698 and 203902. Equal housing lender.
Savewithconrad.com. Chat me up. Obafemi, Brock Lesnar, non-title, because there's no title here. And of course, we all remember at SummerSlam, WrestleMania, where they wrestled, and Oba beat Brock, and Brock was so overwhelmed he retired. And then he unretired and beat him in France after not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 F5s. Now we're going to do a Hell in a Cell. And we feel like we saw a lot of homages from Brock Lesnar to different people in his career. Certainly, maybe most proudly, The Undertaker. He recreated the laughing spot with The Undertaker. He peeled back the canvas, pulled up the padding to expose the wood, just like he did with The Undertaker and in other Hell in a Cell matches. But when it was all said and done, a tombstone on the exposed wood boards was not enough to put away Obafemi. Oba gets the victory. And then Brock Lesnar, to make sure that they don't boo Oba, because this is his home state of Minnesota for Brock Lesnar, Brock grabs the mic, really puts Oba over, says that he's the past, but Oba is the future. This is the future. We go off the air with Michael Cole saying, this is the next big thing. It felt like a really cool moment, a passing of the torch. We're hitting you over the head with it. You can only assume that they ran this last to try to get Oba ready for Roman Reigns next year in Saudi Arabia at WrestleMania. What'd you think of the match? And do you think, I don't know if you saw it, but when Oba hits his finish on Brock, Brock immediately looks over and to the right, almost as if, hey, I was supposed to take that on the boards, but you put me down on the covered part with the canvas and the padding. Either way, they crowned him. Oba is the man. He's now 2-3. Maybe it's Brock's last match. They're a little ambiguous on that. It feels like it'll certainly be his last one until Saudi, if I had to guess, or maybe Royal Rumble. We'll see. What'd you think of Brock Lesnar and Oba? Is Oba a made guy? Is it too much too soon? Has he done exactly what Triple H said? He got over. They can trust him in the spot. They listen to the crowd. He's more over than Cody, or whatever the narrative is. Do you believe that about Oba?
I think they took I don't think a baby step, and I'm not going to jump out and say he's ready, he's over, he's going to move the needle, because, you know, how long was Goldberg's undefeated streak? Months.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a different time.
Months.
Yeah. It just takes time, but this certainly is going to help. I mean, Brock is Brock. I don't think Brock is retired. I think we're going to get maybe a match or two. I don't know. Brock wants to call it a career. Maybe so. Maybe a send off. But Oba took, I would imagine a very nice stride, but he's been on the scene 6 months as far as this real hard push.
Let me give you this. It was, if you recall, the Saturday night's main event where John Cena was retired by Gunther. It was December of last year. And so he is unsuccessful with Cody Rhodes in his match on December of 2025. And now 8 months later, 8 months after making his main roster debut, he's in the main event of SummerSlam in a stadium show, beating Brock Lesnar in Brock's home state in a Hell in a Cell. I don't remember there being a guy pushed this fast to the top in a long, long time. I'm going to stop short of saying too much too soon, but it does feel like that's not the trajectory we see for a lot of guys. You take a Shawn Michaels, for instance. He first pops on the scene with the Rockers and enjoys a lot of success, and we'll call it 87, 88. It's 96 before he wins the big belt. I'm not saying Oba's won the belt yet, but Lord, if they're not getting Oba ready to be the guy to beat Roman Reigns, I don't know how to reconcile what they're doing here with Brock Lesnar. Do you think Oba's ready for that? Do you think the fans will accept him? It's less about can Oba handle it? Can he be responsible and show up on time and be dependable? Will the fans feel like, oh, they're pushing him down our throats? Is that where we're headed?
I think you have to bring that to everyone's attention. And I'm sure everyone is well aware of that. But they just, they embarked on this trilogy, whether it was exactly planned or kind of an idea, but that's the route they headed. And Oba is making strides. But Conrad, I go back to, put the promoter cap on. The ticket sellers, the ticket movers, who in there? Punk, Cody. What do they really have in common? A lot. Maybe they don't. Maybe in personal life, but they can both talk them in the building.
Yes.
Oba's promo takes time. He not just his promo, his personality, his ability to tell a story in 2 to 3 minutes or a 5-minute in ring. That's where the money drawing set of circumstances come in. And, you talked earlier about Roman got put with Sammy and Heyman. Well, Sammy's a hell of a talker and Heyman's damn sure a hell of a talker. I don't think Roman would tell you himself that talking is his strong game. I'm not saying he's a terrible promo by any stretch, but you got to have I don't think that is lost on the wrestling audience, that you take an MJF, young guy, cocky, makes mistakes, does this and do that. He can talk his ass off. You have to have the ability to communicate. And I think right now they haven't, that is the glaring unknown, big question mark. And so the people will not vote on Oba based solely off of, oh man, he beat Brock 2 out of 3 times. He did this, he did that. They got to get him some mic time, and they've got to develop a personality where the people, you think of Goldberg's kind of run, who's next? I mean, he had a catchphrase, different time, different era, but Oba, I think his promo skills if I'm him, I'm working on that as much as I do going to the gym and keeping your body. He needs to. I would be developing a personality off camera as much as possible. You got to.
I can't wait to see it. I think WWE fans are clamoring for something new. They want to shake up in the main event scene. We think Oba is next. What do you guys think? Is Oba ready? Will you accept him as the guy to beat Roman Reigns? Would that make sense for you, for him to walk out of Saudi Arabia as the undisputed champion? Let's quickly shift gears. We've spent a lot of time on Saturday night. We'll try to run through some of Sunday night. What an opening affair. Sami Zayn, fresh off of a 9-day world title run, was in there with Finn Balor. Finn Balor did a lot of interviews this week where he talked about he's ready for the spot that he was given for one night in 2016. You may recall SummerSlam 2016 is when he won the big red belt, an errant power bomb into the guardrail, jacked that shoulder up, and he had to relinquish the title the very next night on Raw. He's not really had an opportunity to challenge for that title, but the winner, if he could beat Sami, he is the number one contender. And Sami has every right for a rematch. He wanted another shot. He felt like he deserved to be the number one contender. But Nick Aldis came out before they could hook it up to a hero's welcome from the crowd who cheered him on the night before. And he announced that there was another competitor. And here comes Gunther to a big reaction. But then in the surprise of all surprises over the weekend, Kevin Owens, fresh off of neck surgery, he's been on the show for over a year, got the pop of the night. I mean, what a reaction. What a moment. Not only is he back, he wins. I thought this was phenomenal. You saw people in the crowd being very emotional about this. It's not a history. He and Punk have cut promos about each other in character, in real life, in shoot interviews for 20 years. And now Kevin Owens is the number one contender for Punk. Sign me up for that. I'm looking forward to it. And I thought on the post show, it was tremendously classy of Kevin Owens to go out of his way to wrestle, to mention Tanea Brooks. We know her as Rebel, and talking about her battle with ALS. The idea that, I know that sounds crazy. It shouldn't be something that is shocking when we're talking about someone's really fighting for their life and trying to bring awareness to a terrible disease. But shout out to Kevin Owens for doing that. It just felt like another real fantastic moment, just like we got with Nick Aldis the night before. I feel like we had it a little bit with Kevin Owens too.
I loved it. I mean, it's a story. Kevin connects emotionally. Man, that's my theme. But he connects. It worked. I think it gave Finn and Sami a needed non-resolution between the winner of those two. It's kind of the magic of creative when you can deliver on a surprise that nobody called. I thought the Gunther, just the whole integration, I thought that was a nice package to determine the number one contender. And you know, Punk and Kevin, once they let the promos rip, it'll be entertaining.
Next up, we had Baron Corbin in the surprise of all surprises over the weekend, beating Trick Williams for the United States title. Of course, Baron Corbin has just recently returned to WWE after he'd racked up a bunch of grappling and jiu-jitsu medals and had a fun little run with MLW. But now he finds himself achieving some singles success. He's got singles gold. He is the new U.S. champion, but he beat Trick Williams, who a lot of people thought was on the same trajectory as Obafemi. They've put him with Lil Yachty. He's been on fire. I don't know that the match was necessarily what a lot of people hoped for. I don't think anybody would have called the finish, but it did make me wonder to myself, do you think they're going to try to move Trick Williams up the ladder? Did he drop the United States title in order to get himself ready to challenge for the world title? Or is it more about, we want to show Trick overcoming some adversity? He lost the title here, and now it's going to be a story of, can he overcome and get it back? If you were putting your booking hat on, what would you do next with Trick?
I wonder what they saw in the chemistry to go with. It's not like Baron is a new talent with them, but you know, going out into the wilderness and coming back, fresh coat of paint, momentum. They obviously have liked what they saw, and there's some, you know, momentum there. And those two guys, I didn't get to see it. So that you may be saying, Jeff, they didn't have chemistry at all. If they have chemistry, they didn't. Okay.
It was a bad match.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, they obviously saw something that they liked. hard for me to truly comment on it, but Trick is headed up. He ain't headed down. And so they want to give Baron. I wonder who Baron's going to work with next. I wonder.
It's got to be Trick, right? It's got to be a rematch.
What you said, not necessarily. Trick could be going in another. Could go in a personal issue. They may have something lined up that, I don't know what but you don't have to have a rematch.
Dave Meltzer's criticism of this, he said something along the lines of Trick Williams has never been less over on the main roster than he is right now. The match just wasn't what Trick needed for his trajectory. So it does make me wonder, are there other plans? We want to hear from you guys. We asked it about Oba. We'll ask it about Trick now. Are you ready to see him moved up on the card? Is it time for him to be in contention for the main event for the world title? Next up was the ladies. And I know that a lot of people are critical about ladder matches and multi-man matches, and it can be a bit of a cluster. But boy, they loaded this one down for the ladies. Lots of star power. The 15-time world champion Charlotte Flair was there. So was the former world champion Tiffany Stratton and the former world champion Jade Cargill. Lash Legend rounded it out. But the real story was about Chelsea Green, who I think has been an absolute bright spot and scene stealer in wrestling, going back to her days as the hot mess in TNA. She was phenomenal there and was begging for an opportunity. It finally came. She gets to NXT, gets a little bit of momentum, gets hurt, goes on a break, comes back, gets a little bit more momentum, gets hurt, gets on the main roster, gets over, gets hurt, gets some new pairing. I mean, really develops a cult following for herself, gets hurt again. And what do you know? It all happened. The dreams come true. But I don't know how many people called it, because on Unreal, she was one of those talents who was given a backhanded compliment by Michael Hayes.
Yep.
Who said something along the lines of, hey, she's a fantastic. She is phenomenal. She can make anything work. She's a bright spot in every show, but she's not the world champion. She's the gal that we look to work with the world champion, whether it's a Tiffany or a Charlotte. And I love that it was 11 years ago in Dallas at WrestleMania, Zack Ryder, the real life Matt Cardona, got to stand on the top of a ladder and hold up the Intercontinental title. It was a dream come true for him. He had a phenomenal photo with his dad and with Razor Ramon afterwards, his favorite Intercontinental champion growing up. But now his wife sits atop the ladder holding the interim WWE championship for the women. It was a replica belt. If you're a belt nerd, you notice that, but it makes no difference. Chelsea Green got one of the biggest reactions of the night. And I feel like just like Nick Aldis and just like Kevin Owens, the reaction from the crowd was real. They had support from the fans. They were with her. They bought into this story. They believed in her. She goes downstage and plants a big one on the front row on her husband, Matt Cardona, who was there to witness it all up close. And then on the post show, I don't know if you saw this, Jeff, she appeared as the new champion and said, I dedicate my new world title win to Michael Hayes. Great stuff. What'd you think?
I love that little button you put on it. But that's where, hey, man, best way to get a push, get knocked on Unreal. The audience will come along with that. So good for her. I mean, you mentioned the TNA hot mess. She is a true character in real life that is charismatic. And that kind of in the essence of our industry is that's it. That people are going to, pay or watch or consume or whatever it may be. But they do that because there's something magnetic about somebody's personality. She oozes charisma, always has the hiccup after hiccup after hiccup with the injury bug. She persevered. Congrats to her and my man Cardona. I'm sure it was special for him and just kind of the drawing the analogy there. But I would expect nothing less of Chelsea's for her to have that soundbite. Giving Michael Hayes a shout out. That's good.
Next up was according to cagematch.net, the worst match of the weekend, but it was fun. Dusty Rhodes used to say that wrestling should be like the buffet. There should be something for everybody. Well, if you wanted a human monies on a pole match, you were in luck. We had Danhausen with a whole bunch of mini-Hausens and a little help from Joe Hendry, who happened to have an exploding guitar with him for JD McDonough. and a victory over Dominic Mysterio. And if you go back over the last few years, it would be hard to find someone who was as hated as Dominic Mysterio. He is the AAA world champion, but with the help from his little friends, 6 minutes and 50 seconds later, Danhausen gets the win, but the human money's on the pole, passes it out everywhere. Listen, I know that this is not going to be compared to Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be for kids. It's supposed to be for families. It's supposed to be for fun. The guy is a mega merch mover. I don't know if it was the right casting for Dominic Mysterio, but either way, the online sentiment is, hey, we didn't like this. I'm wondering if much of the WWE audience maybe they prefer Danhausen as a character on the show, but not necessarily someone who's wrestling matches. Did you see it? What'd you think? Do you think the criticisms are fair?
Cody gave me that. I saw the clips. At the end of the day, Dom is Teflon. Him being a well-rounded performer in this case gave him the slot. He'll survive. It was obviously comedy relief. You saw Mr. Nick Khan in the front row getting the rub from being there with
well, he heard they were passing out money, so
that's
he
exactly
had to be there
right.
with his whole family. I mean, he ain't gonna miss that opportunity. Come on,
he stole my line when money's being out anyway. Hey, at the end of the day, a character like Dom, and I get that. Oh, he's been put in this role or this role. He's Teflon. He knows how to get heat. He's charismatic. He's got himself into that position collectively through the group, but his ability and the Mysterio name and everything that goes with it, he's built. And look, Danhausen, to me, to keep the character with, he has to have some matches. And so this was, again, by design, it wasn't supposed to get a rating on Cage Match. Like, I would have been very disappointed if it wasn't the lowest rated Cage Match rated match. I think by design going in, if you're anyone associated with that show, that match better get the lowest rating because it is the least competitive in the creative. It served its purpose completely.
I'm not trying to be that guy, but it feels like this could have been a fun pre-show thing. This thing got 7 minutes for 6 minutes and 50 seconds, but the 4-way with Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Gunther, and Sami Zayn got 8.5. Like, I would have liked to have seen a little more wrestling in that to determine a number one contendership instead of grab ass on a money's in a pole match.
I was coming back to that on night one and maybe night two. Total amount of wrestling in their night by night. Did I see a stat right that it was pretty light?
It's what it always is. I mean,
okay, so it wasn't anything different.
No, this is exactly the new WWE way. You're going to see a ton of commercials. You're going to see a ton of things sort of shoehorned in. We might call them in the advertising world activations. Let's talk a little bit about Chad Gable and Penta. I thought Michael Cole had a career night on this night. I don't know that you had a chance to see the entire match, but he filled in the gaps on the backstory, and I think he is. Man, people are sleeping on Michael Cole, and they have for a long time. He's one of the all-time greats. He's a GOAT. And his backstory in this one was something else. Penta has been positioned as the next big thing for a long, long time. I mean, we saw last season on Unreal, Paul Heyman just heaping praise on him. He was one of the first featured characters on the debut of WWE Raw on Netflix. And who did WWE task to be his dream dance partner on a big debut for Penta? It was Chad Gable. When they rematched later, it was the injury that took him off the shelf. Put him on the shelf, talking about Chad Gable. Chad comes back, does the El Grande Americano thing, creates absolute magic with Ludwig Kaiser in Mexico, and people were ready to see him on the main roster. And boy, did he over-deliver. He came out and got a hero's welcome wearing his University of Minnesota boots, wearing his Vikings-colored gear in front of his friends and family. And he is now the Intercontinental Champion. After he has the historic win, he welcomes in his wife and children, and then his mom and dad, who are wearing homemade Chad Gable #1 and #2 biggest fan shirts. He cuts an impassioned promo about being from Minneapolis, Minnesota, gets the hometown pop. And of course, we got to celebrate with a little fucking mug root beer. So here comes the guy who looks like he's wearing Scott Hall's jacket with a little mug root beer logo on it, but he's got a mascot head on that makes me, as being a longtime wrestling fan, think, okay, I know he's here to hand him the mug root beer, and I know they probably paid a good pretty penny for that, but somebody's going to stun his ass or do something and reveal that they're under the hood. It didn't happen. It was just a real human moment. Another great feel-good moment, just like we got with Nick Aldis, just like we got with Chelsea Green, just like we got with Kevin Owens. And boy, this was just magic. It was everything I love about pro wrestling, storytelling at its finest. But don't wait until we change the screen and go to a pre-recorded commercial. We're going to do one right here. And instead of doing a Kurt Angle, Steve Austin, except with beer or milk, it's with mug root beer. That's what happened with Chad Gable. Dave Meltzer took great issue with that. I don't think it hurt it that much, but they didn't let it breathe very long. I would have liked to have seen him do a mug root beer bash celebration today on Raw, but it is what it is. They probably got, I know they got a 6-figure sum for it. So
there you go.
All around. What'd you think of Chad Gable and Penta?
Well, the homecoming to me, Chad's Minnesota boy storybook, kind of a thread through here, Conrad. We're talking about the LA Knight and Triple H's comments, and Chad has been there a while now, and as luck would have it, he ends up in AAA. The cream rises to the top. Somewhat of an undeniable. This show happens to be in his home state. The positioning of everything, it all just kind of fell into place, and that is, in a lot of ways, the beauty of our business. It just kind of naturally wrote itself. So Chad's in-ring ability has never been in question. Getting his character to grow, and he's done different things with Otis through the years and just all that kind of stuff. But Chad has navigated his way into this position. I said however long that was ago when he had his AAA with Ludwig, it's like, man, how can he maneuver himself and creatively as well? How can they capitalize on this and keep the momentum going? Wow, SummerSlam's in many. Okay, it worked. Good for them. Good for him.
It all works out like it's supposed to. I'm so happy for Chad Gable. I thought it was tremendous. And then the main event, it was here. It's Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They've got a backstory that goes back forever. I thought this was about as good of a WWE main event as you could hope for. They had plenty of time, 33 minutes, and lots of story. The use of the chair, which really broke up the Shield from the very beginning. The little tips of the cap to Dean Ambrose and the Shield and the homage. Them talking smack to each other, really taking their time. And then, of course, in standard modern WWE, a million false finishes, and the fans were hanging on to it left and right. A totally different style title match than what we saw the night before with Punk and Cody. But for the WWE audience, I don't know that it could have been any better. Tremendous performance by both guys. I know that Roman Reigns is the chosen one, but I hope people aren't sleeping on Seth Rollins because he more than held up his end of the bargain. Did you get a chance to see any of this one, and what'd you think?
So driving back from the game last night, that's where in Cody, I got to hear him real time. He called me and was discussing it while it was on. And, I've said it several times through the years. Seth always delivers. It's just in the history of the Shield. John came to AEW and charted his career. Roman and Seth are still in, and Seth has always been positioned. Roman's the top guy, and just so much history. But it's not like Seth has never not delivered. And what a performance they put on last night. Like you said, it is here's what I noticed, that the cadence on their finishes, and let's say the cadence to Will Ospreay, an AEW, and I don't want to single out Will, but just that there is. So I'm really, WWE's had their style, and going back to the 90s and Scott Hall and Shawn, teaching me the little nuances of a WWE style. AEW now has developed their style.
Yes.
And so that's what I think. At the end of the day, the brands representing themselves, Tony's, the challenger brand, but WWE's classic main event style, Roman has done it for 15 years. So has Seth. They deliver and know exactly how to deliver that kind of stuff, that kind of main event. And, it resonated. Curious to see, and you pointed it out, but Roman's next step. Where are we going with Roman now?
It feels like to me, again, we don't exactly know what's next for him, but I feel like they're going to just try to. I imagine there's more of him and Seth. I imagine this winds up being a multi-series match. I can't imagine that it's one and done. Maybe it is, but it feels like Roman's going to keep that title until it's time to pass the torch to Oba. But I think there was some, and by the way, I know we were, I guess it was mostly me, critical of Roman earlier. Roman delivers in the main events. Roman doesn't have bad matches. I'm not saying that at all. This was a really great main event. It was the highest rated match on Cage Match.
Oh, wow.
Whatever that's worth. Everybody agreed over the weekend. It was the best match. There's no doubt. But he did do an interview afterwards that I wanted to get your attention on. Let me see if I can find the quote here. But I know for sure that at the end of the match, he said, "It's always been me and you since FCW, since the Red Rooster was bitching at us. It's always been me and Seth. It's always been the two of us. Even in the Shield, we knew what it was. We knew Ambrose was a wild hair, but we knew we were the guys that were going to change this place. We're the pioneers of this place. When people left, when people were scared and they ran off, we held the fort down." I think there is some conjecture online saying, "Oh, they're taking a shot at Jon Moxley." That's not what Roman Reigns meant, in my opinion.
No,
that's a shot at Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, because they were both in the company when the Shield was there. They left, and then they came back. And when they came back, Seth and Roman were in totally different positions than when they left. I think it was a way to keep characters going, as far as money drawing stuff with Punk and with Cody. I don't think for a second that he was taking a shot at Jon Moxley there. Do you?
Not at all. I mean,
No.
and to me, he was touching on reality-based stuff that it always resonates. And, you were talking about Roman. He's a former D1 athlete. He's comes from a long line of family that can work their ass off. It is, I'm glad to kind of hear that. Look, you can't, Seth doesn't have bad matches. He's had an injury bug here or there, but man, when he's on his game, Jesus, he's so athletic. And it's carried him, and I know that as he came out of his Shield personality and really got into, and the music hit, and the character development that has really taken place, I guess, over the last, I don't know how long, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, but that's Seth Rollins' character. That took, to me, that's why this match, I think resonates. That head of the table, this main event. I'm glad to hear you say that they'll probably continue this on because they deliver. It's good for the industry when you have that kind of match.
It just feels like there's so many little details. Like, why would a folding chair mean so much? It means so much because if you know the story, it's like, hey, we haven't got all the juice out yet. We can add some other pieces to this story. I'd like to see it continue. I don't imagine that we're going to see Roman drop that title anytime soon, but maybe next year with Oba. Speaking of title changes, though, your old pal Road Dogg couldn't help himself. And Lord, I love me some Brian James. As soon as Chelsea Green wins, he took to social media. As you'll be reminded, last year, they made him look like an idiot on Unreal. And when he parted ways with WWE, there were a lot of people waving the flag saying, "See, told you, Road Dogg sucks at creative, LOL." If you remember the scene, Jeff, and maybe you did or didn't see it, but he was advocating that, hey, we should put the belts on Chelsea Green. And Triple H almost said, "That's stupid. She doesn't have anybody to work with. Who would she work with?" And Road Dogg was sort of exasperated, it feels like, and he said, "I don't know. I don't know. I just, that she's ready." So he took to Twitter and said, "So congratulations, I'm Chelsea Green. The hard part for me is, why did it take so long for others to see? Top Guy's vision leaves a lot of talent underutilized. Not a knock, just the truth. There's another one." Oh, you didn't know?
I love that.
By the way, if you for whatever reason missed SummerSlam, can I give you a little pro tip on how you may be able to enjoy it on Netflix if you already have that subscription? I'm bragging about our friends over at Proton VPN. And maybe you've ever noticed, I know my mom mentioned this to me last week. Son, I just Googled something the other day, and now it feels like every ad I see on my internet, you know how moms talk, it's all about that thing I was looking up. Or maybe you're like a lot of wrestling fans and you find yourself wanting to watch something when you're traveling, but you can't because it's blocked. Well, yeah, Mom, it turns out the internet isn't as open as we think. That's why Double J and I started using Proton VPN. Proton VPN is a secure VPN service designed for people who want to prioritize their digital privacy and security. It keeps what you do online private and lets you access the internet like it should work, open and secure, and on your terms. Unlike most VPNs, Proton is backed by a strong European privacy law and years of experience creating a safer, faster, and more open internet for everyone. They have a strict no logs policy that's independently verified. It's open source too, so anyone can inspect how it works, and it's backed by a foundation focused on protecting user rights, not by selling your data behind the scenes. It all works seamlessly, so you can be confident you're getting an extensive server network, high-speed connections, integrated ad blockers, and compatibility services without restrictions in over 145 countries. So whether you want to watch content from anywhere, get around blocked sites, or just keep your activity private on public Wi-Fi, Proton VPN has you covered. It's easy to get started too. Right now, Proton VPN is offering our listeners 70% off a 2-year plan when you go to protonvpn.com/myworld. That's protonvpn.com/myworld for 70% off your 2-year plan. That's protonvpn.com/myworld. All right, Jeff, now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show. We call it WrestleWorth. Think of it almost like Antique Roadshow for wrestling. Maybe you've got a favorite collectible in your home office or your man cave, and you wonder to yourself, I wonder how much that's worth. Well, send us your picture, send us your items, send us your stories, and we could feature it here on the program. It's WrestleWorth@gmail.com. Of course, we are rounding the bases as a part of the Jeff Jarrett collection. You can find out more information with Heritage Auctions right now or the JeffJarrettCollection.com. We've got the link in today's description. But it was a big weekend at the National where the entire collection was on display. We got lots of pictures, we got lots of video, and of course, the man behind it all, our pal Tony from Heritage Auctions. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you? Welcome to the program.
Just got back late last night, and we're ready to go today. It was a whirlwind, a lot of people, a lot of action. People were really coming by the booth, and the jacket, I think, really stood out. But people also really like those boots. I had a lot of people comment on the boots. The gold jacket, though, far and away. And there was a lot of people looking at the collection and a lot of interest. And, yeah, I mean, at the National, it was very busy the entire way through, start to finish. And a lot of younger people are getting involved in this industry and this hobby. So, really, really good vibes all the way through.
That is so cool.
Don't you think, Tony, that the wrestling market right now, as far as, I guess we'll call it sports and entertainment, in that category of the auction world, it feels like wrestling may be enjoying the biggest boom of almost any category right now. Is that fair to say?
100% right. I mean, for so long, it was baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. And now people are looking for other avenues, looking for other genres to collect. In wrestling, I mean, we all watched it as a kid. I love it to this day. And there's just so much, people look back at what they collected as kids, and that's what they're collecting again. In wrestling, I think we can all agree for the longest time, never got the love that it should have gotten years ago even. And I think people are starting to realize that. And there are tickets, there's cards, there's rookie cards, and of course the match used items. That's what people really, really want. And it's really, it's been a huge boom, and like never before. And once it goes there, I don't think it's ever going to go back, as people realize like this material is not out there. There's not, 20 Hulk Hogan sets of boots out there. There's maybe 10, so there's a lot of interest right now. And I think, as we've said before, you can put these things on mannequins. They display so well in a man cave. So there's a lot of positivity in the market right now, especially for wrestling.
That is so cool. Conrad, I was at WrestleCon, SummerSlam weekend, and so many people at WrestleCon, and it was the comment to the table doing autographs. It was Dark Side, but obviously just the normal chatter. But Tony, I got to say, you guys are making some noise, because I got quite a few comments of the collectors coming through and saying, hey, we're watching it. I can't believe you still have that jacket that your dad gave you. And I said, oh boy, I do. Listen to Conrad and Tony talk about it. But yeah, a lot of comment, Conrad.
The gold jacket, we're going to have a lot more about that next week here on the program. But today we're going to talk about something from the TNA era. We got match worn and signed robe and knee pads as a part of the Jeff Jarrett collection. This is kind of cool. You see the black and the gold and the silver. It's a 52-inch deal, and it's got the metallic and white and gold all against the black background. Double J has signed it in a beautiful, bold silver paint pen. This also includes matching knee pads, also signed as well. A really cool look, a really cool set here. And I'm curious, I know this is live right now at ha.com. You can go see it for yourself. We'll actually have a link in the description so you can see the entire collection. That's the jeffjarrettcollection.com. But chat me up. When you take a look at this, I would have called it a duster. I know it's not really a duster. Jeff, did you call this a cape, a vest? What is the proper term for what I'm looking at here?
Buddy, I still go tights and boots and jacket. I still called it, my black and gold jacket. But it was a set. And that was something that Tony's kind of taught me through this process. It's like, Jeff, you actually kept the entire set. I said, not, it's how I viewed things, that I didn't. Anyway, if my tights would have worn out, I might have gotten new tights. Very rarely. I just got a whole new set. So jacket, tights, and boots.
So when you take a look at something like this from the TNA collection, of course, TNA is enjoying a bit of a resurgence in popularity on the backside of Dark Side of the Ring. Everybody's been talking about TNA for the past couple of months. Tony, what do you think this would be worth? I mean, this, the jacket, the cape, the robe, whatever you want to call it, really cool display item for any old school TNA or Jeff Jarrett fan. What would you put the value on this one?
I would put it at 20,000. But the cool thing is, you're gonna have guys. You're gonna have guys fighting for some of this stuff. So I may tell you 20,000, and it goes for 25, 30,000. It wouldn't shock me. Again, I love that the intersecting or the connecting Double J on the bottom. And when I was writing that, I saw that. I'm like, that is so cool. That's another one. It just looks so good, and that one could surprise us all. Because in an auction setting, you're going to have it where some guys are like, I got to have that. And the thing is, it's not like there's another one of these out there. That's got to be the only one. So I think 20,000 could be conservative. I could see it going for a bit more than that.
As a reminder, if you're listening to our podcast anywhere you enjoy podcasts like Apple or Spotify, now would be a great time to go check out myworldpod.com. It's our YouTube. It's totally free, and you can actually see the items we're talking about. And I think as a collector, there's one item over all the others that really catches my attention in the Jeff Jarrett collection. And I felt so strongly about it, I had our video team put together a little package. Tony, I want you to take a look at this and then give me your valuation on the other side. Let's roll the clip.
Heritage Auctions presents, as part of the Jeff Jarrett collection, celebrating the iconic 40-year career of three-time Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett. Up for auction right now from his early 90s run in WCW. It's a match-worn and signed outfit in the unique style Double J was known for back in the 90s. Jeff Jarrett's ring gear became part of his identity. Flashy, confident, and unmistakably showmanlike. This look made him instantly recognizable and reinforced the strutting arrogance that defined his best heel work. When Jeff Jarrett made his debut in WCW in 1996, he would eventually find himself on a path to becoming a member of the Four Horsemen, starting with a memorable interaction with Ric Flair, where they would have a strut-off on an episode of WCW Nitro on October 21st, 1996, in which Jeff is wearing the ring attire up for auction here. We would also see Jeff in this exact same gear on Nitro, June 9th, 1997, when he would win the WCW United States Championship against Dean Malenko. If there's a signature style for Jeff Jarrett's ring gear, it would be this one. White and gold are intertwined on the outfit, which was used for an extensive period of time in WCW. Pilling marks appear throughout, meaning this garment's ring service was for quite a while. Velcro swatches are fitted on the ends for a tighter feel. Jeff signed the gold strip on the chest in black felt tip. 2 wristbands are also included. This also includes a letter of provenance from Jeff Jarrett and full letter of authenticity from Beckett Authentication Services. Don't miss out on the chance to own a piece of wrestling history. Bid now by visiting Heritage Auctions online at ha.com. And check out other amazing items available as part of the Jeff Jarrett collection.
We're going to get that video up on the Heritage Auctions website later this week, but I absolutely love this piece. It's synonymous with Jeff Jarrett when he was on the #1 show in wrestling. I mean, let's think about October of 96 and early 97. Respectfully, the WWF was so far in the rearview mirror. The NWO and that storyline was the absolute hottest. But the Four Horsemen is sort of the precursor for the NWO, and Jeff had an iconic exchange with that, the strut off in this gear. And then he won the same world title or the same U.S. title that a who's who of professional wrestling, including the Nature Boy himself, all held wearing this iconic outfit. To me, this is the epitome of Double J. I have to admit, when I first got back into wrestling, it was 1996. So when I was introduced to Jeff Jarrett on a major scale, it was this gear he was wearing. Tony, what would you put the valuation at on this?
I have to give you a lot of credit. First of all, that video was phenomenal. And when I saw this particular outfit, I got to tell you, it kind of took me back a bit. And it was fun to write it. I love writing this material so much. And that one stood out because I remember putting in the title, his signature style. When I saw that, it did bring back some pretty cool memories. That one, maybe the one that's going to, I think right now it says like 15,000. That one's probably going to be more in that 20, 25 range as well. Just because when you think of him, that's at least when I saw all of the outfits, that one to me really stood out as the signature one. So that one, as you can tell, there's some good traction on it right now. But as the process goes, that's one you're going to want to really watch.
I think it might be the crown jewel of the entire collection. It's all a part of the Jeff Jarrett collection. You can get registered right now. There's still several days to go ahead and take advantage of this auction. It's going down on August 22nd, but you want to register right now, and you can actually track this and keep up with it. I know it's going to get crazy right at the end, but there's something for everybody. We've talked about the Bob Vila glasses that I've sort of busted balls about before. But when I've called that outfit there the Venetian blinds look. But I love that it was white because that was sort of synonymous with his entire WCW run. And if you want an outfit that really epitomizes what Jeff Jarrett was doing when he was at the top of his game, to me, this is it. I absolutely love it. Go snag your opportunity to get registered right now at ha.com. Tony, I can't thank you enough for all the time today, man. This was phenomenal, and I can't wait to see how these shake out as a part of the Jeff Jarrett collection.
Can't wait. Guys, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, man, running on fumes, but you're here. Hot off the Nashville. Tony, thank you, sir.
Take care, guys.
I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jeff, what'd you think, man? That video that our producer, Chris, put together, man, I'm fired up about that.
Chris never fails. But that was cool. I mean, you learn something new every day. The Dean match, I would have said, I think white, because they're, and when I debuted, if you go back to my WCW debut, it was who's the next member, who's the next member, who's the next member. And, I declared right out of the gate, but I had a black leather jacket on that I don't even know where I found it or whatever, but I got out of the limo in a black leather jacket, but I knew that, you know, I was taking that jacket off and I was going to be in white. So my WCW, that when the product was so hot, and the NWO was obviously the major story. But me and the Nature Boy, we kind of had our 4 horsemen strutting and a 30th birthday and all those kind of different fun memories. But yeah, very, very cool. So that video, Chris, that damn, Conrad, that was good, man. That was really, really, it's a little piece of history that you documented. And then, yeah, like, you know what you're doing, buddy.
Well, every now and again, I know what I'm doing. Go check it out right now, ha.com. We've got a link in the description so you can see all of Jeff's items. There's a lot of other great wrestling stuff over there, something for everybody. But if you're listening to this show, of course, you're a Double J fan, and we want you to have an opportunity to snag something. So part of the Jeff Jarrett collection is up now at ha.com. Still a few weeks left to go. And I know everybody's going to be worried about, hey, what's the money going to look like? Where is this going to be? And I just want to ask you, since we're talking about money, Jeff, if your man Cody was running around swiping a credit card around town and you got like a push notification, you got a text alert anytime he swiped, what do you think Cody would be buying the most of? What would be his number one stop?
Cody?
Is it Chick-fil-A? Is it, what do you think it would be?
Gosh, I'm going to go Bojangles.
Okay.
He's on his Bojangles kick. But there's also, man, when you get those Amazon little notifications and gaming, and I don't know, Conrad, but you never know with Coaster. But I'll have to go right out of the gate. In this house, I could pull up my Amex app right now, and it would absolutely explode with Amazon.
Well, for all the parents out there with teenagers, you already know how hard it is to keep up with a million different things and keep it all under control. But Cash App is here to make sure that your teen's money and their spending isn't adding to your craziness. I want to tell you about the Cash App card. It's now available to teens 13 to 17. Of course, with the sponsorship of an eligible parent or guardian. But here's the best part. Every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see. It empowers your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of their spending. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two, making it simple to stay connected to your teen's financial activity in a way that's both efficient and empowering. Nobody wants unnecessary surprises, so here's what you need to know with Cash App. There's no monthly fees. There's no minimum balance requirements. There's no hidden charges when you're sending or receiving money. And with the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if the card ever gets lost, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. It's time that we start focusing on teens' financial learning and growth instead of stressing about the fine print. So if you're ready to give your teen more independence while staying in the loop, start by downloading Cash App and sponsoring their account today. I also want to brag on Cash App because they've taught kids how they can actually start saving a little bit. I don't know that a lot of families are actually teaching their kids this, but I love this. Cash App is now offering teens interest on their savings. They can start with as little as just $1, and it can grow from there without ever having to pay anything extra. You get to manage it from your account too, so you can see what's going on. But I love that they have the ability to set their own savings goals. It's going to teach them how to set and achieve those goals while they're still in your household. You want to talk about setting up a young person for life? Cash App is here for you. Start by downloading Cash App and sponsoring your kid's account today. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa Debit Flex cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, and the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc. See terms and conditions for the Sutton Prepaid Card, Sutton Debit Flex Card, and the Bancorp Debit Flex Card. Savings provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. If you sign up at ringclassics.com, not only do you get all of our bonus content and all of our podcasts going back for like 10 freaking years, you can also be a part of our live studio audience. Jeff and I are recording on a Monday morning, and you could have been here running it at your desk in the background. Throw those headphones in so your boss doesn't hear us use foul language. Jeff's got a potty mouth, but you already know that. Want to give a shout out to Coach Rosie and Coach Keith and Pyrus Wrestling. He's actually got a question for you, Jeff. He says, do you think Chad Gable is the only man to bring back the 60-minute Iron Man match at the return of the Ultimate Submission match last seen in 2001? Would you be up for a WWE 60-man Iron Man match or 60-minute Iron Man match?
Sure. You got to have the right storytellers. It's all storyteller. Chad obviously could lead that match. I also think you could, I don't know, this is creative, but 60-minute Iron Man matches are usually a single match, one-on-one. What about a four-way Iron Man? What about a three-way Iron Man?
Interesting. Coach Rosie wants to know, does a loss like this cut the legs out of Dirty Dom? As a reminder, they're going to be running not one night of Triple Mania, but 2 nights. He is the AAA champion, and they're not running the Luxor. They're running the much bigger MGM Grand Garden Arena, which he wrestled in as a part of Halloween Havoc, a legacy building. I can't wait to see it in that building. I know they're probably not going to theme it up like Halloween Havoc, but I can't wait to see what they do. I love that building. But you did just have your AAA champion losing to a gang of little people and Danhausen. And 5 weeks later, he's in the main event. What do you think?
The WWE audience and the AAA audience and the crossover of those two audiences, it's irrelevant. Dom will come out and be who Dom is, and it does not cut the legs out. Not at all. Dom can talk. It'll be a different opponent, a different time. It's, you know, and Conrad, you know, the Grand Garden Arena, it's in TKO's backyard. That they will have that Triple Mania up, and it's their first one on U.S. soil. It'll be a spectacle. There is no doubt. Production-wise, that place will look. It'll give the vibe of an arena WrestleMania.
A wrestling historian wants to know, what if you had competed in a Hell in a Cell match? Jeff, have you ever given any thought to that? Does your brain ever, your creativity ever get going on, hey, what you could do in a Hell in a Cell match that's different than other cage matches?
Well, Lethal Lockdown. What's the difference? You tell me, Conrad. Maybe I'm missing something here, but Hell in a Cell is a fancy name for a cage that has a roof over its top, and it's not up on the ring apron. It's actually on the floor. So, you know, have I ever been in a Hell in a Cell branded? No, but I've been inside of a steel cage, and even going back to the Memphis days, we built that big monster cage, and Lawler got his head shaved in, and that didn't have a top over it, but heck, the Triple Tome of Triple Tower of Doom out in Mesquite, Texas for WCCW. So I feel like I've been just not in a Hell in a Cell. So yeah, I've been in those kind, and you again goes back into what's the story being told.
Well, the story being told right now in GCW is the story of a young Avery Styles. If that doesn't ring a bell, it's going to. This is the son of AJ Styles, and there was a clip posted to social, and I thought to myself, I can't wait to show this to Double J. Let's take a look at what Avery has been up to. And Jeff, we are 1 month.
Drop down, and Avery Styles clears the Northern Lights suplex from Avery. Marcus Mathers now over the Styles looking for this power bomb position, making him think about it. Oh, you made him think about it too long. Now looking for that moonsault out of the corner, right into that. Avery on the top, super. I think Avery was looking for Styles Clash. He's still looking for Styles Clash, and he's going to get Styles.
What do you think, man? I mean, he's a month into his wrestling career, and he's already moving like that. I can't wait to see what young Avery Styles is going to do.
Watch his dad his entire life, and there is something, I always call it osmosis, that you just being around it and watching it and just being a part of it. And again, there's genetics involved, but there's also time. When you watch something on TV, there's just something about you're mentally rehearsing it, whether you are doing it consciously or subconsciously. So I don't know how much training he's got into it, but the amount of times he's seen his father do that through the years is not in the hundreds. It's in the thousands, I'm sure. So there you have it. And man, oh man, gosh, I still call it back handspring slot drop. That was a staple that AJ would do. And I mean, he looks like a young AJ. I hope Avery, either stays or gets in the gym and really, really gets himself in as good a shape possible, not only for presentation and look, but also for longevity and safety and being in shape, because it's hard on the body, and he's doing just like his dad. But always, one of the things I admired about AJ, always stayed in shape, and it goes a long way in your longevity of your career. So the young man is following in the old man's footsteps. It's hard for me to even say the old man being AJ Styles.
Let's talk about the AWA. I don't know if you saw this, but last Thursday it came out that WWE has trademarked AWA, or they at least filed to trademark it. And we know they acquired the library for this 20 years ago. And I know they were just in Minnesota, but I'm wondering, do you think this is for a new set of figures? Is this for they're going to do something with the legacy IP, or are they going to launch a new league, a new division, sort of like NXT or Evolve? Maybe they rename Evolve. I'm just curious, with as loaded of a roster as they have, maybe I'm overthinking it. What do you think this AWA trademark acquisition could be for, if you had to guess?
Action figures. And they don't miss a beat. I don't see them starting in developmental, but maybe. But the AWA, for all intents and purposes, was dead in 90. Conrad, that's 36 years ago. So it's 2 generations of fans. I just don't see the modern fan attaching to that. But who knows? It may be a digital series. But you're asking me off the cuff. Maybe look. Fanatics there this weekend, the monetization they're doing off of figures and everything that goes with it. Maybe they went, oh, wait a minute. We own the library, but we don't actually own the mark. Let's jump on that. That kind of feels like what it is.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it feels like it's worth mentioning. It was 30 years ago this week that Ron Simmons in Baltimore, Maryland became the first ever black heavyweight champion. JBL often refers to Ron as our Jackie Robinson. You were active in the business. We hadn't yet seen you on the WWF or WCW programming yet, but I know you were keeping up with it. I'm sure you had conversations with your dad about this moment. I mean, if you take a look at traditional sports, boy, by 1992, African Americans were dominating American sports, but there wasn't a lot of representation in the pro wrestling world. Ron Simmons checked that box and became the first black heavyweight champion here in America. Do you remember what you or your dad were thinking about that move from a business perspective way back in 1992?
I mean, but I probably, it's like, wow, what took it so long? It probably didn't, for me as a kid, I'm not talking for my dad. It was like, wait a minute. Because as you said, as far as, black athletes, Jordan was stepping into his prime in 92, and we could go, the era before that, Dr. J, and the era before that, Bill Russell, championship after championship after championship. And the different territories, when you kind of look back through the years, Bearcat Brown and different, and I'm talking about the local territory stars, and you could go just across the country and look at the Ernie the Cat Ladd and the territory stars, all that. But to be the first world heavyweight champion, 92, kind of felt late to me. But again, I didn't, if you know me, I don't see color.
No,
Never have. And so it probably, my initial thought would have been, what? But then moved on.
Let's talk a little bit about The Undertaker. He was recently doing his podcast, and the whole conversation about the dream match with Sting came up. And he said that Vince just didn't want to do the match. Specifically, he said, obviously, people had already been clamoring for that match for a long time, and it seemed like a no-brainer. Why on earth would you not do that? But for whatever reason, Vince did not see it, didn't like it, didn't want it. I was like, man, this is a home run. This is an easy main event for a pay-per-view. I really don't have an answer. I never really had an in-depth conversation with Vince about why he didn't want to do it. My goodness, Sting versus Undertaker. Again, he obviously knows more about business than I do, but that one just seems like a home run. They decided to walk the guy instead of pitch to him. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I don't have any regrets. It wasn't my decision, but my goodness, I would have loved to have been able to do that match. I remember running into Sting. I think it was after the WrestleMania that we didn't work. I remember us being on the same plane together talking like, I don't know. This is beyond me. I don't know why. It is what it is, man, I guess. I think Sting, that's got to be the biggest miss of a WrestleMania. Those two characters, that would have done some incredible business. I know fans all over have wanted that for a long time. I think it was a match that Sting wanted. It was a match that Undertaker wanted. But what Vince chose to do is, let's make it about the NWO and DX and have Triple H beat him. And then we'll have Bray Wyatt work with Undertaker. That's what happened at that WrestleMania. I'm glad we got to see Taker and Bray. I would have liked to have seen Sting and Undertaker. I wanted to ask you, why do you think Vince didn't pull the trigger on that? Because you view wrestling with multiple hats as a promoter and as a performer. We heard from a performer who was involved, The Undertaker, saying, I don't know why Vince didn't want to do it. Can you think of a reason as a promoter, as a matchmaker, as a booker, why Vince wouldn't have wanted to do Undertaker Sting?
This is only my opinion, but we all, I believe, and I've learned this sometimes the hard way, sometimes only experience teaches me this, that we all have, my set point is how I view the business started in about 78 or 79. I had my first match in 86. And then, I was in dressing rooms, and you hear the territories, and this may be a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I think as we developed through the years, our mindset and our wins and losses and the formulation and how we view things, and then how we try things in business and all that. I think Vince, obviously, started up in Cape Cod, and he was a promoter there and worked for his dad. And then he saw Gorilla, and, just as the legend tells it, his dad's business. And he got those three guys together, the owners, and purchased his father's organization, and it was up and running, and the agreements with the Garden and all that. But when you really look at Vince's growth, he looked at the quote unquote 22 territory promoters and basically said, I'm going to do it better than them. He didn't by design say, I'm going to go put Jerry Jarrett out of business. I'm going to go put Fritz von Erich. I'm going to go put Graham. And he didn't say all that. He's just like, hey, man, cable television is coming along. And so his set point was, I'm going to build the brand. I'm going to hire Savage and all these territory stars. But and I've heard Vince tell me this, look me over his readers and look directly at me. I've heard him tell other talent this. What's best for WWE is what we're doing, period. The brand comes before anything else. So he knew, and my gut tells me he knew, he'll never own Sting. And so why? And Sting probably, rightly so, that would be known that, you're renting the IP of Sting right now. And so he looked at it and said, am I going to increase WWE's brand by booking it? That's subjective in Vince's opinion. Look, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. He's like, in essence, saying Taker's my creation, and I'm not going to give my creation the rub to something I don't own. And so Taker's going to go against Bray Wyatt, which is another part of my creation. And my DX group that is going to face Sting and his guys, the NWO, which he did not create. It's protection of the brand, and he probably thought there was more upside for DX beating NWO than Undertaker beating Sting.
Let me ask you this. When you think about your career, is there an Undertaker Sting match that you would have wanted for yourself? Is there a dream opponent that got away from you that for whatever reason it just didn't happen, but you wish, man, in hindsight, I wish I could have done that?
as time went on, as the podcast, I wish me and Flair could have had a blow off. We
Yeah.
dabbled, but it really never got there. And the other one was, I didn't really, because of the timing, and I think this would have helped my career. I don't even know if we've ever had, but because you always get me thinking the what ifs, and I think you sent me a tweet recently, just all the what ifs. But if you think about Scott Hall, as far as the IC title picture, he put me on the map, put me over right in the middle in Tampa at a Royal Rumble. We go to Mania, and it's very rare that a babyface doesn't get his hand raised, and as the IC champion, I remain the champion there. And then as the world title picture above me, and the Brett and the Backlund and the Diesel and everything that kind of goes with it, and Shawn and Diesel and the Bodyguard, and how we're going to go, all that, Vince kind of made the call that, oh no, I think the original plan was Shawn versus Razor at SummerSlam, and anyway, off to the races, and he wanted me and Road Dogg to go in that direction, and all that kind of stuff. I never got a blow off with Scott Hall. Did I get to work with him? Yes, but Flair, Razor, that, and then we could weave in a couple of WCW. Man, we never really got to have that. It wasn't in the cards. That didn't have Russo book. That didn't have Bischoff book. That would now. The circumstances, I can't say Kevin Sullivan, because he always answered somebody, but it was just a different set of circumstances. But nothing. I do think from the dream match scenario, is there a bigger one than Sting Taker? I don't think so.
There may be, but certainly not for either one of those guys.
Sting Warrior in their primes.
Well, I mean, I think Hogan Flair in WWF would have been fun. I think Goldberg and Austin could have been interesting.
There you go.
I think Austin and Hogan could have been interesting.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really fun what ifs, but we'll talk about that more in the coming weeks and months. Fingers crossed. But something I know everybody's going to be talking about, especially my small business owners listening out there, are Quo. Running a business means you're always reachable until you're not. And buddy, the moment you miss that call, that text, that follow-up, a competitor is the one that picks it up. And that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. It's spelled QUO. It's the business phone system built so you never miss an opportunity. You spent money to get that customer's call, ads, referrals, word of mouth, none of it matters. The moment it rings out unanswered, that's just not a missed opportunity. That's a sunken cost walking out the door. I'm a big believer in this product. We use it in my office, and when you try it, you'll see why. You see, all of your calls, all of your texts, all of your voicemails, they all live in one place. So anyone on your team can pick up a conversation and see the full history and respond fast. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2. It's been trusted by over 90,000 businesses who rely on it to stay reachable and look professional every day. You can set it up in minutes on any device. Keep your existing number and even add teammates as you grow. There's no IT. There's no hassle. Quo's built-in AI agent handles calls after hours, answers questions, and even books appointments so you never miss a lead, even when your team is offline. Quo integrates with the tools your team already uses, like HubSpot, Zapier, Claude, and more, helping you save time, stay organized, and spend less time chasing information between systems. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/myworld. That's QUO.com/myworld. And Jeff, I'm excited for this. We're going to close our show out with This Week in Double J. And we're going to go back to August of 1989. It was on this exact day, 37 years ago, that you were teaming up with Matt Bourne. It's the future Double J versus the future Doink the Clown, taking on Cactus Jack Manson. He had 3 names at the time, and Scott Braddock for the USWA Tag Team Championship titles. Let's take a look.
Coming down the aisle, the challenge for the World Tag Team titles. It's the exciting team.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to have to pipe down that unlicensed music you guys were sporting. You still have that jacket somewhere, you think?
I believe I still got that old Simply Irresistible silver jacket somewhere.
I love the Simply Irresistible tip of the cap.
Maniac Matt. I guarantee you he had probably had him a smoke or two right outside the back door. There's Tony Falk, General Braddock, Cactus Jack Manson. We got us a little lumberjack Mac. I think that's Frank Dusek in the corner. Yeah, how about this? This is wow. Takes me back. Look at Matt's tights. They're just shorts.
I could be wrong, but is it just me or does the top rope seem like it's lower on this particular ring?
It is, and you can just tell every now and then it would be super loose, and somebody would complain in between matches saying, "Guys, get the top rope," because the ring was never taken down for the most part. It stayed up, and so the show would happen, and it just times have changed. But the ring crew also did probably 10 other jobs here, and they show started or somebody big went to the top rope and stretched it out. But man, yes, it's a little bit lower. That Sportatorium ring the ropes were a little bit lower, but man, that top rope some nights would be so loose.
Matt Bourne here wrestling in shorts. We got Cactus Jack Manson and Braddock here regrouping with Skandar Akbar. You got any Akbar stories?
Oh, Skandar. Yeah, one night Ak was driving, had a little short, stubby cigar in his mouth. Dundee in the front seat, riding shotgun, me and Billy Travis in the back. We hit some, what do they call that? Black ice. And we spun and went off the side of the highway down a deep ravine. They had to pull it anyway, but we spun around and around. We all thought we were going to die, or snow was going everywhere and everything like this. And we come to a stop at the bottom of the ravine, not a scratch on us, just dug in and way down in there. And Dundee looks over at Ak, says, "Ak," in his Australian accent or Scottish accent, "Your effing cigar, you didn't swallow it." He had that little stub and held on to it. But no, me and Ak, a lot of road miles together. Great storyteller. Ray Weeby, God rest his soul. But he was very instrumental in, me, as you see Mick here, a lot of the young guys out there in WCW. Ak would, he would be a teacher of such. So very, very good man. He was a teacher.
You're defending the WCWA World Tag Team titles here. And I guess at the end of this will be the last time that we have WCWA Tag Team Champions, because World Class is going to officially cease operations following the event. And we immediately transition into the USWA. So that makes them the first USWA Tag Team titles here as well. Wow. This was an interesting time, to be sure. Have you ever spent any time talking to Mick Foley about this? We see him working with a full cast here on his
I got to see him bits and pieces. Saw him this weekend, and obviously saw him last 2 weeks ago in AEW. But every now and then, Mick is such a good storyteller, and we'll get into, he'll say, "You remember so-and-so that I used to get rides with?" And I'm like, "Oh God, Mick, how do you remember that?" And this, and Mick left Tennessee and moved out there, and God bless him. Trying to think, it'll come to me, but he started renting a room from a lady out there. Mick was resourceful from day one. He wouldn't go in and find an apartment. I'm like, how did he find this place? And, anyway, room for rent or whatever it may be, and Mick's old car. But I guarantee you, whatever money he made this particular night, he saved 75% of it, 80% of it.
He's still got it.
Yes.
I do want to ask you, Matt Bourne is a guy that we've heard a lot about, some good, some bad. You mentioned beforehand he was probably out back having a smoke. I doubt you were talking about cigarettes.
No, I actually was. So that Matt loved his cigarettes. But Matt, he took me under his wing, and his dad wrestled, and Matt took a liking to me, and he's like, "Jeff, you inspire me," because I'm like, "Matt, I'm going to the gym." Back in those days. And that son of a bitch, I tell this story. I'm like, I used to, and I'm working out and doing all this. And then I'd finish every workout, like I still do this day, with cardio. And Matt would say, "Hey, I'll meet you downstairs and we'll finish up on cardio." Okay, go down there. He'd be gone for about 5 minutes. And then he'd come down and he'd join me on whatever piece of cardio equipment, reeking like a damn cigarette. In between working out, he'd have to go smoke his cigarette, come in smelling like a chimney, but he'd just got done smoking a cigarette. But Matt, as far as an athletic specimen, a hell of an athlete, like really, really, really good. And his in-ring work, as many folks who battle with the disease of addiction, we become our own worst enemy. But man, oh man, in a different time, I think Matt's talent, just super, super talented. And when they gave him that doink gimmick, the angry clown, the heel clown, that's Matt. That was an extension of his personality. I can see exactly how Vince and team kind of weaved into that. He had that evil, maniacal laugh, but man, oh man, Matt was a lot of fun and knew the hot spots to hit around Dallas and watering holes out in Irving, Texas. But he taught me a lot in those, what am I, 3 years into this business? Matt, I tell you what, Matt was one of the good teachers for me for the difference between the Tennessee and the Texas territories.
Talk to me a little bit about Braddock. He's somebody that I'll admit I'm not super familiar with. Cage Match tells me he broke in 88. He retired in 93. So just a year after this.
Short run.
Or a few years after this. But he looks like he's in phenomenal shape. Any Braddock stories you can share with us?
Phenomenally good shape. But we had a crew out there. Scott, he just kind of, I think he broke in Texas, and that's where he was. But his roots were there. I'm not going to say he was never committed, but, it was Akbar, I just mentioned him, but Gary Young took Braddock under his wing. We just had that crew, but I don't think Scott got seasoned enough because there wasn't enough work around there.
Mm-hmm.
A hell of a nice guy, but that was something that just popped in my brain about Matt. Matt was telling me because, like in the Tennessee territory, there was only one king, and so you couldn't. Lawler was the kick-ass babyface, and so I got over by selling a lot. That was just kind of my nature. Get sympathy and tell those kind of stories. Matt pulled me aside one night and he said, I understand. He said, I can relate to this, to the Oregon territory and different territories, but you're selling way too much. You've got to show some fire. And I'm like, man, that just isn't my deal. And he brought my dad into the conversation. My dad said, well, tell us, Matt, what do you think? He goes, hey, man, you're dealing with Von Erich world. In the Von Erich world, Kevin, Kerry, and David, he said, they didn't sell worth a shit. So he said, this audience may take you as a wuss if you sell too much. So you need to show a lot more fire at the beginning. He said, I'm not saying don't sell, but you have to get over in the beginning part of the match because you don't have all this grandfathered in Jerry Jarrett, Jerry Lawler, this, that story. You're brand new. And I'm just like, old man goes, take it to heart. He knows what he's talking about. Anyway, so when I look at this crew that Eric Embry was booking, but Mick and Gary Young and Braddock and Akbar's Devastation Inc. and Percy Pringle and Billy Travis and the crew that we were building. And look, Gordy would come in from time to time and Kamala and Kevin or Kerry. But this whole kind of nucleus of a group, this is one of the small stories that was being told. But the overarching story was what you just said. It was the end of WCCW and the complete rebrand because my dad could not own WCCW. He owned USWA. And so they turned the home promotion WCCW heels and made USWA the baby faces. And again, it takes me back to a different era and different time. But it's one of those set points that I'm like, no matter what group of talent, if you all telling the same story, the audience got behind it. And good old Friday night, Saturday morning sportatorium days.
I love watching this old stuff with you. Shout out to Larinco, which is a better for you chewing gum that has the same ingredient in it that strengthens the enamel in your teeth. I wonder if
the Queen,
if after smoking, maybe Mr. Bourne may have needed some of these before the matches. Hey, I do want to ask you, by the way, if you're watching along with us, and you should be, myworldpod.com, you can see all of this. When you look at this as a veteran with fresh eyes, is there anything that stands out to you that you're impressed with? And is there anything that you're really critical of yourself or self-conscious about that makes you cringe?
It's such a different era. Like I'm watching me and Mick throat change punches. That punches carried me through a lot. But I go back to the style. Look, Mick doing his elbow off the second rope. I mean, just a dude crazy, man. No wonder his hips hurt. But you know, that was the design spot. Hey, man, punch me. I'm going to pull you down by the tights, take a bump outside, get ready for me. I'm coming off the elbow. But again, the storytelling that was ingrained in me, no matter what match, single tag, 6-man, tell the story. And I think about in my early years how little I knew, but these are the formative years to teach me how to do the subtle things to tell stories that, you know, my matches nowadays are few and far between, but they still work because I can listen to the people. They want a story to be told.
Let's track a little bit here.
Yeah.
What do you think of the announcing here in World Class?
Mark Lawrence had to do so many different jobs. He misses the elbow. So this is the second elbow Mick gives me from the apron to the concrete floor. Mark Lawrence on a television night like this, the amount of jobs he had to do on and off camera, but you know, he doesn't have a color commentary, I think, on this one. He's very good, and he knew the history. And if you know, I know when we tracked it, you could hear the people, the engagement on this. Mark was a guy that from time to time, he laid out at the right time. I bet he did right there on the hot tag, and then he'll pick it up as Matt's cleaning house. But Mark, he fit the brand, or the brand fit him.
Watching a pretty fun match here from the Sportatorium. I hope you'll check it out with us at myworldpod.com. I can't believe this is real, but want to give a shout out to Andre the Midget over on YouTube, who provided this for us.
I'll be damned. Thought you were going to give the Queen a shout out in her TikTok with Lorenco.
You should. If you haven't already, you got to check out Karen Jarrett on TikTok.
She loves her products, but Lorenco has moved into there, and she's like, hey, I think she told me earlier today, cinnamon came in. I'm like, okay, good.
I like the mint. Mint's my go-to.
Okay.
Well, look, there it is. Let's track it. So how about that? Jeff Jarrett, Matt Bourne, and Mick Foley from 1989.
Right here in Dallas, Texas. And, you know, we've just been defending the belts all across the state of Texas. But myself and Matt, we've been talking. We're happy that World Class has got the open door policy. Then anybody can come in and challenge us because we are the World Tag Champs. But we're going to take it on ourselves. Any of the promoters out there, not just in Texas, but if it's in Chicago or in Florida and California, it doesn't matter. We'll put the belts against anybody at any time. You just send us the airplane ticket and we'll be right there. But I want to say this, there's no greater fans than right here in the great state of Texas, because that's where we won the belts and that's where we're going to keep
When
them.
you talk about survival in the world of professional wrestling, Jeff, that's just it. The bottom line is survival. In order to survive in this profession, you've got to be tough. You've got to be able to pick people's personalities out. You got to be able to tell the snakes from those who aren't the snakes. And you got to be able to deal with the snakes on their level. And we're able to do it.
That fan blowing in, it was a hot summer night. They had those big, huge fans right off camera that was blowing to keep the ring somewhat. And it was hot, man, in that building. But the old fans, good stuff.
The good old days. Hope you guys enjoy AEW Grand Slam Mexico. We'll be back next week to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of professional wrestling. And I've got something up my sleeves coming your way for Double J sooner rather than later. Stay tuned and tell a friend to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, and we'll see you soon right here on
Peace.